Right between life and death, a goddess suddenly breaks through the darkness. Suzuki Ryu blurted the name of a soul that had just slipped away. Before all of this, he was built to kill, straight up a weapon. An assassin and a mercenary, born with war in their blood and violence in their fate. But his death didn't come from some bullet. And then at just 42, sickness came in like a thief and took him. The goddess lays out his fate, then crushes everything with one brutal truth: he's dead. And his soul is on a one-way ride straight into oblivion. Unless he's got a craving for some quick freelance work. She's got a life-altering request for him, and in her world, swords and magic aren't just stories, they're how survival works. No-nonsense job, wipe out 32 heroes and don't blink. The moment his eyes lock on her, his soul screams that she's an evil deity. She looks downright insulted, like the accusation is absurd enough to make her speechless. Switching tactics on the fly, she leans in and tries to reach him in his final moments. Waves of the fantasy tales he devoured as a kid crashed into his mind while he lay dying. What if he could tap into his old skills and tear through a world like this? That deal is way too wild to brush off. He's going to listen. 6 months earlier, the goddess kicks off her story. The king from her world broke the rules and illegally summoned 32 students from Earth. Someone stole a power that only the gods are allowed to touch. He tried to blast them back to where they came from. But the holy messenger was gunned down by the very heroes she'd come to save. How does a soul even wrap its mind around it? Heroes ripping into the very people they were sworn to save. When he unleashed that kind of power, more than half of them snapped and tore into a rampage. Now they're hunting the tech that lets them conquer world travel, spreading a deadly threat not just to her world but to Earth itself. The king in charge slammed shut his gates, cutting off every last thread of contact. Divine decree seals her hands, banning her from stepping in and interfering directly. Suzuki is the perfect pick. He's got a powerful soul that adapts like it was born to, and he's got zero annoying divine ties holding him back. Then she seals the deal, hands him his brand new vessel, a body she forged for peak performance. She brags that its physical stats are flawless, and its magic skills are just as perfect. But Suzuki's soul shoots the offer down instantly. He insists that a body this flawless screams assassin from a mile away. The goddess tells him, don't worry, your soul will naturally reshape its own appearance anyway. He lets out a heavy sigh and finally sees the truth in her argument. She looks thrilled, but he's already side-eyeing his new boss like, are you really qualified? With everything finally locked in, he swings straight into action and demands to know what his reward is. She offered him a shot at a brand new life in this fantasy world. When the heroes are finally wiped out, he'll burst free, living life exactly how he wants. And she even tosses him a chest packed with treasure. But she clocks it instantly. This kind of man doesn't chase money at all. He goes still for a beat, eyes narrowing as he weighs every move. Then he nods and agrees to her terms, no hesitation. He'll grab the job, no doubt, but first he needs every scrap of intel he can find on his targets. She tells him the full set of needed information will be uploaded straight into his brand new body. She also points out 2 holy women who will serve as his secret contacts out in the world. Then he demands a codename for the mission, something to shield their plan as everything kicks into gear. He tosses out Ray, and it instantly leaves the goddess staring in confusion. He says the moment anyone hears Suzuki, they'll clock him instantly as an otherworlder. She fully understands it, and then she accepts his new identity like it was always meant to be, Ray. Once the deal's locked in, she gets ready to push him out the door for good. But before he even gets a chance to react, his soul gets yanked straight toward its brand new body. Her goodbye hits like a harsh slap, not a soft goodbye at all. He barrels through the empty space between worlds, like the universe can't stop him. Plummeting into the forest like it owned the place, totally unprotected, totally exposed. His top priority is simple: grab clothes and hit the nearest settlement, no questions asked. He still clings to her promise, the one about downloading the truth into his mind. And the entire map of the world crashes into his mind, flooding his thoughts in an instant. Still, something about his new boss screams careless, and he can't shake that feeling. Meanwhile, right at the gates of a nearby fortress, everything is about to kick off. First he stops at the local outfitter's shop. Lucky break, no one's around to guard it. Now that Ray's finally dressed right, he's ready to kick things off. He claps a silent vow into his chest: he'll repay the owner for that loan no matter what. He's suddenly back in his head, replaying the instant he opened his eyes in this world. He quickly got the hang of magic's basics, and it felt eerily like the Kai from his past life. While everything was being set up, he locked in his first move, straight for the Adventurers Guild. To hunt down 32 targets, you need serious supplies, sharp intel, and a solid base to run the whole operation. Becoming an adventurer is the ultimate disguise, one move that gets him all three. That night, he decides to sneak out and scout the guild's location. But then, right as he's just moving in silence, an unwanted voice snaps the moment in half. Two local thugs are scouring the night, hunting for some late-night entertainment. He watches in awe as the goddess's language download clicks in flawlessly. One of them slaps a hand on his shoulder, trying to scare him for real. Those smiles weren't warm at all, they scream trouble. They demand his money as payback for ignoring them, classic drama that never really gets old. Ray doesn't even blink at their clumsy, amateur attempt to shake him down. They swarmed in from both sides, trapping him in the corner and shutting off his escape route. They laugh at him, convinced in their bones that nobody, no one at all, will ever step in to help. He nods with a steady smile and tells him, "I'm really glad to hear that." In the blink of an eye, confrontation ends before anyone even gets the chance to swing. He looms over their unconscious bodies, calm and deadly, like a pro finishing off rookies. He snatches their weapon on the spot, sealing it away as a safety move, and grabs their earnings for himself. He lets out a heavy sigh. His first day has turned into one crime after another, and it's all because of that new boss. A brand new day bursts over the city like a spotlight, waking everything up. And just like that, Ray's mission kicks off for real, officially no turning back. He darts to his destination in a flash. The Adventurers Guild's Rommel branch. Ray strides into the bustling guild hall like he owns the place, pure pro energy in a room full of amateurs. A few moments later, the registration's finally done. Now he's standing tall as the proud owner of a shiny G-rank adventurer's tag. He realizes if he wants to roam without limits, he's gotta grind up to at least C rank. For now, he's stuck staring down the G-rank quest board like it's the only way out. Those job listings are straight up not heroic. And just like that, the aspiring adventurer's daily grind kicks off, one mission at a time. In his free time, he dives headfirst into this new world's history and lore, soaking up every secret like it's priceless. And he gobbled up every nasty, menial job imaginable right through his work time. But the real work doesn't start until he's out of sight and nobody's watching. Deep in the silent forest, he brutally tests his brand new body, pushing it past every last limit, sharpening his old combat moves and turning them into lethal new tricks. The chilling threats that this brand new world is throwing at him. He quickly figures out how to channel his mana like a weapon. He fused it with the martial arts he had honed in his past life. He starts cracking the code of elemental magic, piece by piece. While the locals treat magic like myth, he sees it as something you can visualize and command. His science brain gives him the upper hand with fire and water, but Earth throws curveballs and turns everything way more complicated. He realizes those common chances are only there to prop up the spell, something he doesn't need at all. The harder he trains, the more it costs him. If he shoves too much mana into his body, a brutal backlash hits, pain exploding through him. He finally gets it. If he wants to win a real fight, he needs way tighter, way more precise control. Sure, anyone can throw around reinforcement magic, but only a true master can control it perfectly. His training gets ripped apart by a deafening crash that hits out of nowhere. He whips his head toward the sound, every sense screaming at full alert. A colossal beast bursts from the tree line, towering over everything like it owns the world. His mind starts sprinting, trying to pin down what he's seeing, then it hits him like a punch. It's a dragon. And it's already gearing up for a devastating attack. No time to second-guess himself, his instincts snapped into action. He dumps every last drop of mana he has straight into strengthening his body. He barely slips out of the way as the dragon's fiery breath blasts past him. He panics as the truth hits. His intel was totally, brutally wrong. The beast couldn't care less about him, forcing him into a corner with no choice left but to fight. He starts casting a spell built to slip right through its brutally tough hide. He locks in his willpower, convinced this attack is about to hit and change everything. He blasts out a jaw-dropping lightning spell that hits like pure fury, summoning a bolt straight from the heavens. Backlash slams him to his knees, like the universe just punched the air out of him. He shoots his gaze upward, hunting for the dragon as the smoke swirls around him. But all that's left now is a towering crater that swallows the world. Mana overload is wrecking his body from the inside out. He reels from what he did, because his own spell almost finished him. He realizes, like a punch to the gut, that this is only the beginning and the journey ahead is going to be brutal. Meanwhile, in the free city of Masera, trouble was already brewing. A hooded stranger in a cloak shows up at that exact inn. She's tearing through the streets hunting for her sister, then a sudden scream rips the air and stops her cold. Her eyes blow wide with shock and panic slams into her. She rammed through the door and blurted out a name, Irina, like her whole world depended on it. Inside, she barges in and sees men looming over a fallen body. Her worst nightmare finally hits, and it's exactly what she feared. Men snap their heads toward her, faces wiped clean like nothing underneath ever breathes. She leans in, eyes blazing, and demands to know exactly who they are. They're not here for a friendly chat, this is trouble and everyone knows it. The camera snaps away as she bolts through the forest, vanishing between the trees. She bolts for her life, driving herself past every breaking point. But her pursuers don't stand a chance, because a dragon is backing them. She slams up a defensive barrier at the last second, just barely in time. The blast's raw power tears through her gear like paper. She's stunned, her reinforcement magic is failing right in front of her. Dragon Rider rockets in, lining up for the kill. She slammed down hard, crashing through the air and landing on the forest floor. Her pursuers drop out of the shadows one by one, until 3 of the summoned heroes finally stand revealed. Tsudo, Takahashi, and Hanju, 3 names sitting on Rei's hit list for the future. She glares at them like pure hatred is burning behind her eyes. She lunges to cast a spell, anything to strike back and keep control. But still nothing, her magic is locked down tight, sealed away like it's never coming back. She realizes, horror crashing in, that she's completely powerless. One of the heroes slams her down in an instant, no hesitation at all. They laughed at her, warning her not to mess up her face, like that was the real hero move. Desperation hits hard as she lunges for the fallen sword. She lunges with every last ounce of strength she has left. But the blade explodes, shattered to pieces as it slams against his skin. In a single instant, her last hope gets snuffed out completely. Tsudo, the hero, just grumbles about his ripped uniform like it's the end of the world. A tidal wave of terror crashes through her. He nonchalantly swats her away like she's nothing, like an insect. He towers over her, fists cocked, about to land another crushing hit. His friends point out straight up that his adamantine force is unbreakable. She's sprawled on the ground, battered to the bone, her face wrecked beyond recognition. One of them ditches the show when he realizes she's too broken to put on a single good act. But Tsudo isn't done with her, she's coming for more. He snaps his defensive skill off. The third hero slumps back, bored out of his mind by the whole mess. The other 2 immediately start bickering, fighting over who gets to go first. Their leader's power has everyone simmering with resentment. Tsudo fumes with frustration after being treated like a lowly subordinate. But his furious rant gets brutally cut off when a sudden blow smashes into his face. He presses his cheek, then yanks his hand back, horrified to see blood from his own skin. His companion stares in total disbelief as his dragon crumples to the ground. Tsudo glares, blood trickling down for the first time, proof his defense finally cracked. Takahashi blurts his name in utter disbelief, like he can't believe what he's seeing. Before he even gets a chance to react, the third hero, Hanju, gets knocked down too. In mere seconds, 2 heroes and a dragon get taken out, just like that. Takahashi just freezes, totally stunned, like his brain can't catch up to what's happening. A crushing hand clamps onto his throat from behind. A cloaked figure bursts out of the shadows and crushes the final hero's chance to fight. And just like that, Rei had his first 3 targets down, one win that snapped the game wide open. He can't believe it, there are barely any magical barriers standing between them. They were so cocky, they didn't even feel him coming, pure amateurs. With the pests finally crushed, he snaps his focus to something else. He drops to his knees beside the fallen woman and declares, she's an elf. He slaps his fingers to her pulse, and when it barely flickers, his hope crashes. His internal scan flashes a brutal checklist of injuries, and he realizes they're all the kind that end in death. He knows healing magic from this world can't patch up damage like that. But if he used what he learned in his past life, he could finally forge a real regeneration spell. He remembers the nerve damage his own reckless magic caused, and he refuses to ever make that same blunder again. He decides this elf is exactly the perfect test subject for his new theory. But first, hold up, time to kick off a little interrogation. He snaps Pseudo awake with a brutal splash of cold water across the face. The hero stumbles back, and the world hits him like a brick wall of pain. Rei snatches him right there and lays out the deal, answer every question or die. To prove his point, he slams the hero's hand in place and snarls, saying the tendons are already severed. Out of nowhere, the third hero, Hanju, snaps into action, bolts toward safety, and yells for help at the top of his lungs. He snaps his hand to the air and a weapon tears out of nothing, straight up the holy lance. Then he lashes it straight at Rei, right as he's hauling his captive along with him. Blast hits Rei like a meteor, he gets launched through the air screaming into the chaos. Inju shot a cocky glance back, sure his attack had hit hard. Now that the dragon rider's finally awake, he casually leans in and tells him, "You should have watched your aim." Rei hauls himself out of the dust, staring in shock as he realizes the hero didn't flinch before striking his own friend. A brand new face shows up out of nowhere and he introduces himself, Kuryu Hayato. He demanded to know if Rei had come to save the elf. Kuryu leans in and drags his subordinate for failing to keep his prized possession safe. Then he spits out a disgusting threat, swearing he'll make the elf pay and turn them into a warning for everyone. Rei's expression hardens into stone, there's not a single ounce of sympathy left. Kuryu clocks it instantly, his dragon tamer is already gone dead. He snaps his command and launches his dragon into the sky. But Rei stays cool and tells him to drop down and face him, right now. The hero snorts, then readies another holy lance overhead, like he's about to drop punishment from the skies. The attack hits so fast it feels like the world blinks and you miss it. But Rei's seen this exact trick before, so it doesn't catch him off guard. He clocks it instantly, the flying beast is the real threat, the classic boss and minions set up right in front of him. He fires back with a blazing fireball spell, no questions asked. He lunged for the dragon's wing, trying to slam it down and stop its flight. The hero roars in sheer rage as his mount stumbles and loses its footing. He snaps his plan in half and calls down a holy sword summon. A thick cloud of dust and raw magic erupts into the air, swallowing everything in shimmering chaos. Bursting out of the smoke, he steps forward wearing armor he conjured himself. He snaps a holy sword into existence in his hand, ready to dive straight into a no-holds-barred confrontation. Then he slams down a firewall, trying to trap Rei inside before he can slip away. But then his eyes snap wide, shattered with disbelief. Flames are acting nothing like he thought they would. Rei wades straight through the inferno like it can't touch her at all, untouched and unshaken. The hero can't move, he's frozen in total shock. A razor-sharp hit slams straight onto his helmet. The enchanted metal screams and shatters under the brutal impact. Rei slips back into a familiar stance he knows from his past life. He unleashes a blur of punches, striking so fast it turns into pure chaos. This hero can do nothing but unleash a blood-curdling scream as his defenses collapse around him. The hero's armor explodes apart under wave after wave of merciless attacks. With the leader taken out, Rei whips around and goes back to his other captive. A single twitch of his finger is all it takes. He shakes the unconscious hero awake and flat out tells him, "It's time to talk." The man jolts awake, and searing pain crashes over him like a tidal wave. Rei calmly admits his limbs were left disabled. He throws down the simple rules, answer him now or everything's about to spiral into something far worse. He leans in and demands, "So, am I one of the 32 summoned from another world?" And he presses them hard, demanding to know every single one of their abilities. The hero forces a brave grin, but he flat out refuses to cooperate. So Rei starts using a little hands-on persuasion. He makes it crystal clear, if he doesn't start talking right now, the pain waiting for him is going to be beyond imaginable. The hero's bravado gets wiped out in a single instant. He roars that he'll spill anything, whatever he wants to know. He starts rattling off the powers of his so-called comrades. Rei leans in and asks, "So that's everything on the list?" He points out loud and clear that the numbers don't add up to 32. The hero breaks down, sobbing that it's all he's ever known, and he swears on his life it's the truth. Rei clocks it right away, some heroes play it safe and others don't. He snaps the conversation aside, demanding to know how they ever ended up in this world. The hero blurts out that their whole high school class got ripped out and summoned, every last one of them. The king of the Ablean kingdom cooked up a brutal plan, turned those people into slave soldiers. But then one student with an appraisal skill clocked the whole plan instantly. With that intel in hand, the students rose up, toppled the king and seized the throne for themselves. Rei leans in and fires his final question at the captive. The hero jerks his gaze upward, begging for the interrogation to finally cut off. Rei snaps and asks, "Wait, why were we even chasing that elf woman?" The hero leans in and starts spilling exactly what happened at the very end. He admits it, yeah, they didn't just buy the elf, they snapped her up for their own cruel amusement. But her raw defiance lit a fire under them, and soon the forest erupted into a brutal, relentless chase. The hero blurts out how the elf sister comes barging in. So they decided to swap in her as the replacement instead. Rei has heard enough and it's hit a breaking point. He lifts the dagger he snagged earlier. The hero's face twists with unstoppable, spine-chilling terror. With a lightning snap, Rei finishes the interrogation for good. The final one of the four heroes gets wiped out. Broken Kuryu, the leader they can't ignore, drops to his knees and pleads, "Don't kill me, please." Ray leans in and demands to know if he ever even heard his victims begging for help. He finally snaps and decides there's no way someone like him should be allowed to live. After what feels like an eternity, the elf woman's consciousness snaps back to life. Tears spill down her face as she chokes out an apology to her sister, crushed by the fact she couldn't save her. Her eyelids flutter open just like that. Awakening sent a jolt straight through her. She stumbles into a plain little tent. A masked figure slips up to the entrance and demands, right through the door, "Are you awake?" He snaps at her to stay down, promising through clenched calm that he's got no intention of hurting her. He tells her, "I've already treated your fractures," but then admits her other injuries still look brutal and far from healed. She clamps her mouth shut, staring at him like his words are slipping through her fingers. Ray realizes the goddess's language pack doesn't have Elvish in it. He snaps into a new language and asks, "Can you understand me now?" Her eyes snap wide with pure shock, then he starts talking in her native tongue. He tells her not to push herself into talking. One quick nod from her and you'll know she's got it. She gives a tiny nod back, just enough to say, "I got you." He orders her to rest right now and tells her the real treatment kicks off tomorrow. As he steps out, she shoots her hand toward the nearest sword on pure instinct. But her hand is so weak it can't even grab the hilt. Her strength crumples and she tumbles back into unconsciousness. Ray's simple camp sits in the forest, quiet for now. He charges back to her side and promises, "I'll heal your mouth first, then you'll finally be able to eat." Now her mouth is healed, and the elf strains to force the words out. Her gaze locks onto her mysterious savior like she's finally found the answer. She locks onto his gray eyes, so strange she can't remember ever seeing a single elf with that color. She clocks it instantly, he isn't one of her own, he's human. But how in the world would any human possibly know her native tongue? As she stares at him, a wave of magic crashes over her like lightning. No way that many spirits flocking to him is straight up unbelievable. Ray just tells her to eat right now, before the food turns cold. As he walks out the door, she's left staring, desperate to figure out who he really is. Night crashes down on their lonely little camp, cutting off every distant light. After some time passes, Ray goes back to check on his patient. The food sits untouched, apparently bedside manner never taught him how to sneak. She stays dead silent and you can practically feel her distrust in the air. He lets out a tired, heavy sigh that sounds like it's been waiting forever. He tells her straight up he needs to uncover who she's tied to, the same guys who attacked her. He tells her, "Your legs are healed, so if you don't trust me you can walk out the door whenever you want." She finally breaks her silence and introduces herself, Lydiana. She snaps and clarifies, "My name isn't the simple one you've been calling me, I'm not that." Ray hears her name and flashes a quick smile, then shuts down the idea of him sharing his own. He doesn't waste a second, he asks the question straight up, does she want his help or not? Lydiana freezes for what feels like forever, then, inch by inch, she finally reaches out with her bandaged arm. Ray drops her gaze and she quietly nods, like that's exactly the deal. He tells her to hold still, then starts peeling back the crude dressing, careful and intense. He drops to one knee beside her, readying himself for the delicate procedure. A warm, gentle light spills from his hand as he pours his mana into the world. Lydiana stares, knowing her fate now hangs on the choices of this stranger. Time drags its feet as the healing finally kicks in. Ray clamped down, pouring an ocean of mana and pure focus into the spell like his life depended on it. He exhales slowly like the calm before the storm, as the first stage of the treatment finally clicks into place. That brutal focus wipes him out cold, but in the next breath her arm is fully healed. It drained far more time and energy than he ever expected, and now he'll have to push the rest off for later. Inside the tent, Lydiana lies still, and the food next to her stays untouched, like the night itself froze around her. She slowly lifts her arm, and pure disbelief hits her like a wave. The fracture vanished like it never existed, no scars, no sign, nothing, and this healer, he's not ordinary at all. Outside, Ray sinks beside the blazing fire, and his thoughts yank him back to a whole other life. He clings to every word his master said, the same man who clocked his real nature in an instant. He didn't think Suzuki came here to learn martial arts, he knew he was here to master the art of killing. A brutal path where only one thing could unlock its secrets, commit the deed and kill to master it. They handed him one final chance to back out, and he clearly didn't take it. He flashes back to the dojo, where the brutal, ancient ninja arts were drilled into him until they felt deadly in his bones. He was the only Japanese kid in a hidden classroom packed with killers who came from every corner of the world. Sure, they never went all the way to the death, but he nearly crossed that line more times than he could even count. His master would always sigh and swear that his school's legacy would vanish the moment he was gone. He had a family, but he couldn't drag them onto that bloody assassin road. Not even his brilliant great-grandson would get to escape this fate. He still remembers the way his master kept throwing down one vicious death match he knew deep in his gut he could never win. His master only smiled back, like he already saw the truth hiding in every one of his students' words. Back then he didn't just speak to him, he called him by a whole different name, the one that belonged to his past. You keep haunting me with the same chilling question, when are you finally going to kill me? In the present, Rei's face turns grim, like that memory is dragging heavy chains across his chest. He can't stop wondering, are the other heroes even tougher than the master he'll never manage to beat? The very next day, Lydiana cautiously puts her newly healed legs through the ultimate test. Sure enough, once her savior is gone for good, she slips out of the campsite without a sound. She slips into the forest, prowling through the trees, hunting for whatever she's desperate to find. A tiny glowing forest spirit drifts in front of her, reading her silent thirst like it can hear every word she never said. The spirit swirls ahead, guiding her deeper into the dark woods with eerie grace. It leads her to a hidden, calm stream where the world finally goes quiet. She finally plops down at the water's edge and scrubs the grime from her ordeal away. She slowly scrubs her arm under the water, and for a heartbeat, the noise in her head finally goes quiet. But that nightmare, her ordeal, comes roaring back in her mind like a flash of lightning. Everything hits him at once, and the full weight of it crushes his breath. Just like that, Lydiana finally snaps. She knows plain healing magic can't mend deep scars or put shattered bones back together. She's dead sure this is how her life will be forever. Then a sudden thought slices through her despair like a flash of hope. She still remembers the man who set her broken arm so perfectly it felt unreal. A tiny spark of hope ignites, and suddenly it's growing fast. She snaps to it. He saved her first, then stitched her back to health. And if she got tricked, it was her own doubt that did it, turning truth into something she couldn't believe. Back at camp, Rei hammers away at his magic, pushing his power like it's life or death. He hones the exact techniques he'll need to rescue her, then tests his reinforcement magic by trying it on his own leg. He crushed his own limits and pushed his control to a whole new level. He looked downright satisfied with how everything turned out. Just then he feels Lydiana coming back, right in his bones. He nods at her with quiet confidence, like he's totally in control the moment she's there. She stands right in front of him, finally choosing to trust, blurting out an apology for how she acted and thanking him like her heart's on the line. Rei just shoots a quick finger point and gets right to the point, no small talk. He leans in and tells her, don't think it's over, this treatment isn't finished yet. She leans in and demands to know if he can genuinely heal her face. He leans in, drops a confident probably, and somehow it's so reassuring it calms your nerves instantly. He tells you he's already mastered nerve regeneration, right there on his own arm. He tells her your turn's next, right after my mana comes back. Meanwhile, he hands her a cup of tea to settle her down. She flashes a small, silent smile and accepts his gesture without a word. He hands her the warm cup, and just like that, a silent truce cracks the tension between them. Beneath the full moon's glow, a fragile alliance snaps into place. Talk's done, now the treatment kicks off. He suddenly remembers this paper he once read about human regeneration. He stares into her like he can see every cell, every bone down to the very structure. And he dumps his mana into her, blasting her body's own healing back to life. Power surges through her like lightning. This is his totally one-of-a-kind take. Regeneration magic surged back to life. By dawn, every scar and bruise slips away like it never happened. The procedure is finished. All that insane effort has drained him completely, like every last drop is gone. He jerks upright from sleep, snapping back to his patient in an instant. He berates himself for nodding off in front of someone else. But instead of fear, he gets met with a calm, straightforward offer. She leans in and asks, so you're finally awake? And for the first time, Rei finally sees her real face, then she smiles and tells him, good morning, like it's nothing. He can only gawk, utterly stunned. He never even guessed how breathtaking she really was. Meanwhile, deep inside the Oblivion Kingdom, things were about to explode. Chaos explodes across the streets as monsters tear loose and rampage everywhere. A reptilian monster rips through the city like a living storm. A brand new face bursts in, demanding to know what's going on right now. She yanks her blade free, squares up, and braces to meet the creature head-on. It lashes out, yet she's gone in a blink, way too fast to hit. With one smooth, unstoppable motion, he shuts that threat down for good. She lets out a shaking breath, like the fight just got snatched away because it's already over. But her eyes dim with disappointment, and she keeps begging for something harder, something that actually tests her. Her wish gets granted way faster than she ever thought possible. But she's not alone. Yuko, another hero, bursts in to back her up. The swordswoman snaps her voice out, calling to her friend Yuko. She snaps at her for being reckless, yet Yuko doesn't even blink. She winks like she's already sure the Sword Saint will slice right through it with zero trouble. The Sword Saint is basically begging the Bow Saint to finally care a little more. She fires back, saying the rampaging beast had to be stopped, and pins the blame squarely on its irresponsible owner. Now that the danger has been shut down, the two heroes bolt from the scene together. Panic-stricken citizens can only stare as the whole terrifying crowd moves past them. Meanwhile, inside the royal palace, all the other heroes finally crowd together. Their fresh new leader, Takashiro Yuki, storms up and addresses the whole assembly. He reports that 4 of their classmates have vanished in the middle of the action. The exact same 4 that Rei just permanently knocked out and retired for good. The moment the news hits, worry spreads through the room like a sudden shockwave. Takashiro hesitates, wrestling with every word as he finally forces out the grim news. He can't shake the fear that all 4 of them are already gone. Yuko wastes no time, she immediately grills him about his reasoning. Then another hero steps up, Hayashi, the tamer herself, dropping her expert insight like it's the key to everything. She tells you that every beast belonging to a tamer has just snapped and gone feral like this. It all but screams one thing: their master is gone. Takashiro drops the recorder, then fires off a question: tell me where they're at, anything at all. Later on, a small crew huddles together and grimly wrestles with the worst-case future. Takashiro whips around to Kuju, the guy who has the appraisal skill. Kuju calls forth a holy sword, one power he couldn't even reach before. He tells him that Kuryu's crazy, one-of-a-kind hero powers have just suddenly unlocked for him. You don't get to use a dead man's skills unless he's already beyond dead, fully, unquestionably gone. Nanahoshi, another student, doesn't believe for a second that any local could have pulled it off. But he swears they can't just leave this hanging, they've got to hit back. Takashiro whips around and shouts at someone standing just out of frame. He snaps an order to the deposed king: find the 4 missing heroes. Now the old rulers can do nothing but tremble, sweat, and fall in line for their new masters. Takashiro's face brightened, now his mission was crystal clear. He looms over the terrified king, teeth bared, then dares him to explain what defiance is even worth. Takashiro spits out cruel mockery at the old ruler and the people who followed him, calling anyone who can't contribute disposable, like their lives don't even matter. The king can only shake in terror as the hero brings up the slave collar they used to lock his obedience in place. Some hero shrugs and casually says, turn the uncooperative into zombies, like it's totally normal, real heroic vibes, right? Even the palace maids aren't spared from their cruelty. The king's terror slams straight into Takashiro's cold, unshakable stare. He finally snaps out of it and offers a pathetic apology. The old rulers get thrown out like nothing more than dirty servants. One of the heroes takes a slow sip of tea, then laughs at how utterly foolish they've been. He can't help but think the king's plan to use them was a deadly mistake. They were always one move ahead, snatching up the truth and realizing the slave collars were made for them. The king never dreamed that one of the 32 students would pull off an appraisal skill. Takashiro leans in and grills another student, Nanahoshi, about how their preparations are coming along. Nanahoshi flashed a grin and promised he was ready to spring into action the second the call came. Their plan is dead simple: keep the king up front as a shiny cover. They let him take the fall, while they rake in every single reward. From the palace balcony, they shout that this kingdom is theirs to rule now. They stare over their brand new domain. This city is totally trapped, like it's caught and waiting to be freed. But Takashiro snaps back mid-sentence, and he makes it crystal clear: their dream is to seize control of the entire world. Meanwhile, our protagonist dives right back into the chaos. Rei and Lidiana are rolling out together, but you can practically see the dread on Rei's face. His face basically yells, "Why did I get stuck with a travel buddy?" A flashback rips open the curtain on what happened just a few hours earlier. Lidiana leaned in and demanded he yank off his mask, swearing with her whole heart she'd never betray the savior. Rei gets hit with her own blindside when she suddenly makes that request. With a heavy sigh, he tears off the mask, and bam, his real identity is exposed for everyone to see. He sets the cup down, and in that quiet moment they both agree to finally talk. Lydiana grabs his hands, pours out her gratitude for everything he's done, and offers to do absolutely anything just to repay him. But Ray shrugs it off, saying her recovery is all that matters. She insists no doubt about it, her feelings are the real deal. Ray snaps in and cuts her off, instantly steering the conversation somewhere else. He's desperate to figure out why the heroes are hunting her. She hesitates, then finally relents and tells him her story. She leans in and tells him, "Yeah, I'm an adventurer. And her sister got dragged straight into debt slavery, like there was no way out. A brutal system where people get chained to endless work just to pay off their debts." She tailed her sister all the way into an auction in Masara, only to discover she'd been snatched up and owned by the so-called heroes. They made it painfully obvious where they were. And she burst in right on time, hearing a scream rip through the air. She burst in, but the moment she arrived, it was already over for her sister. His expression hardens the second he hears that grim confirmation. Rage clouding her vision, she raised her hands to cast a spell, only for her magic to sputter and fail. The rest of the story, he doesn't just know it, he's lived it firsthand. He drops to his guardrails and apologizes, confessing he'd taken revenge for her. Lydiana freezes in shock, he really just squared up against all four of them by himself. She shoots him a warning, those killers won't quit, they'll keep hunting him. She realizes this isn't just some ordinary healer, this man is something far bigger. Honestly, she's more than thankful, his intervention saved her. He nods and admits it, running was the exact right move. But he can't let it go, there's one last question pounding in his chest and he's ready to ask her. He jabs a finger at the sword on the ground and demands to know where she snagged it. He says he just grabbed it right after the fight ended. He's stunned by how insanely good it is, so rare in this region it feels unreal. A regular sword would have snapped in half the moment his reinforcement magic hit it. But this sword is basically saying, relax, better materials are out there and we're about to find them. Lydiana blurts out that it's a dwarven blade, straight from the kingdom of Merged. Ray shoots a question, so how far is this kingdom from here? She figures they've got about 2 months of travel ahead of them from right where they are. Lydiana spots the flaw in his plan right away and jabs at his adventure or tag. With that rank, they don't even let him leave the country. Ray froze, eyes widening as he realized he'd totally missed this crucial detail. But Lydiana has a slick little solution, and suddenly everything changes when she's with him. She whips out her own tag and lets it dangle from a gleaming silver chain. She leans in and tells him, "I'm an adventurer too," like it's a promise and a challenge. With a bold wink, she lets everyone in on the truth, she's rocking that B-rank status. Ray can't even move, she's stuck staring in pure disbelief, B-rank. She tells them if we register as a party, we get to travel anywhere, no limits. She can even roll right in and set him up with a legendary dwarven blacksmith, and pitch in the money to make it happen. She leans in and asks if he's willing to accept this kind of payment. Ray's the mind reels, her offer drops right into his hands and solves every one of his urgent problems. He knows if he stays here, his whole mission will get crushed. Working solo is usually safer, but this alliance brings rewards so huge they're almost hard to believe. He stares down the danger, then calculates the huge payoff that could change everything. He paused for a beat, then his decision finally clicked into place. He nods and agrees to take her generous offer. With everything finally locked in, Lydiana claps her hands, grinning like she just nailed the win. She straightens her posture, flashes a polite smile and reaches out her hand like, "Let's start over, nice to meet you." He locks eyes with her and at last, finally blurts out his own name, Ray. They slam their hands together in a hard shake, sealing their brand new partnership for good. After a while, they burst back out onto the city streets, weaving through the crowd like they've got somewhere urgent to be. Ray's face falls, he can't believe he ended up in this mess. Lydiana tells them flat out, pretending they're a couple is a decent hiding spot, terrible sure, but it still works. Then it hits him, she's been speaking the common tongue the whole time. She admitted she was still too battered and on edge to talk yet. And she says it like a warning, an elf who talks like a human, that's way too perfect and way too suspicious. He finally mutters she's right and admits it without a fight. Their wild journey kicks off right where it always does, the Adventurers Guild. The receptionist beams at Ray, relieved he's back safe and sound. The receptionist narrows her eyes and demands to know if Lydiana's with him. She drops her hood in one smooth motion and boom, her elegant elven face is fully revealed. The whole guild hall goes silent, like every person's breath just got stolen the moment she steps in. Lydiana smoothly slips out her adventurer's tag like it's no big deal, calm on the outside, ready for trouble on the inside. The receptionist jolts and nearly drops her monocle, then confirms it's stamped with a B-rank tag. She leans in and asks if Lydiana's really sure, and the elf just nods, no doubts at all. So yeah, break the basics down and it's crystal clear. Ray's stuck at an F rank, which means their party's ceiling is razor thin. He asks if she's really okay with the handicap, and she just grins like it doesn't even matter. You can bet she's sure he'll rocket up the ranks in a blink. Ray's just realized that this freedom to travel doesn't come cheap, it hits with some brutal expectations. The receptionist slams the official party registration form into his hands. Single humiliating word slams into his mind, parasite. Meanwhile, the other adventurers are already whispering like, what's up with that mismatched duo? Ray finally gets it, this is why their every move is dragging in unwanted attention. First thing, let's pick a party name and pick it fast. The receptionist shrugs and says, anything works, just don't make it drag on too long. Lydiana blurts out an absurdly romantic name, and it somehow sends a wave of pure horror straight through everyone. The receptionist flashes a thumbs up, but Ray slams it shut on the spot. He grabs the quill and with no hesitation, decides to take this on himself. Lydiana leans over his shoulder, eyes wide, dying to see what he's about to write. He picks Ravenclaw on the spot, then leans in and explains it's named for a black bird from his homeland. Lydiana's eyes burst with excitement, she loves it. With their brand new party official, Lydiana lays down the plan and maps out what they do next. But the moment they slip out, the shady streets notice, and the wrong people start circling. At the very end, Lydiana tries to snag a double room, but Ray shuts it down fast. Nope, 2 singles please. Their next stop hits them with a fresh disaster. Our assassin can't even ride a horse. Liliana finally agrees to teach him, but right now they've got to share, at least for the moment. After a lightning-fast shopping spree, she struts back like, look at what I just bought, and proudly shows off her brand new adventuring gear. He demands why she picked black, and she tells him straight up it's because she wants to match him. Ray then tries to pawn the clothes he borrowed, but the shopkeeper immediately shuts him down with a nervous, shaky refusal. He decides that his shopping spree has totally more than covered his loan, like somehow a thief with a conscience is actually the one making the rules. That night back at the inn, Lydiana sinks into sleep, but her rest is anything but peaceful. She's caught in a nightmare loop, forced to relive the same nightmare over and over again. Like a tidal wave, the hero's cruelty crashes back into his mind. Her eyes fly open in a jolt of cold sweat. She shoots upright, choking on a desperate gasp. Pure terror grips her so hard she clamps her hand over her mouth and tries not to let out a scream. The shock hits her like a punch, and she tumbles off the bed. Right at her window, a terrifying face suddenly shows up, and the air turns ice cold. Lydiana locks up in terror, her worst fears just came true. Her mind goes into overdrive, she knows they're gone, but terror crashes down on her like a tidal wave. All she can think about is finding the one person who'll shield her, Raizu. She slips in a touch of wind magic and pops his door open. She explodes through the door, panicking, shouting his name like her life depends on it. But the room was totally empty, no footsteps, no sound, nothing at all. Panic crashes over her, he's gone. She storms onto the balcony and shouts into the night, searching for answers. She crumples to the ground, and her final shred of hope feels like it's been ripped away for good. Then right when things feel normal, our names get shouted by a voice we know all too well. Her head snaps up, and disbelief flashes across her eyes like a sudden spark. Ray looms in front of her and demands to know why she's in his room. He's like, wait, how did you even get past that lock? Priorities, my guy. She lunges forward and clamps onto his cloak like it's the only thing keeping her from going under. He stares back at her, completely dumbfounded by what she just did. She crumples, choking out an apology for losing control in a full panic. Scars from her past are still raw, and the moment hits, tears finally spill. Ray's face relaxes the second he realizes just how terrifying her fear really is. He slowly rests a hand on her head, and in that quiet moment, comfort finally hits her, rare, real, and gentle. He leans in and tells her, you're safe now, so breathe, it's okay. He leans in, voice soft as a whisper, and asks if she's okay. She's already drifted back to sleep, completely wiped out from the whole ordeal. Ray spots the signs the moment it happens, traumatic stress hits, and he clocks it instantly. A familiar curse from his past life, one that even the toughest soldiers couldn't shake. He finally clocks it, she's been swallowing her fear this entire time, hiding it deep down. He whips his cloak over her, certain the healing won't end anytime soon. He can't shake the fear that this fresh body is turning his edge to mush. Next day, they finally rip themselves away and leave the city behind for good. Tied to the ride side by side, Lydiana lets a quiet thank you slip through as thanks him for the night before. He leans in and tells her, "Don't worry, if you get scared again, I'll be there." She gets totally flustered, swearing it's just the treatment. Yeah, sure, like we can buy that. They huddle up to map out their route, then lock in their next huge stop for real. The map unfurls their brutal, mile-long trek straight to the Dwarven Kingdom of Merged. And just like that, their cross-country adventure kicks off for real. As they set up camp, Lydiana leans in and asks, "Hey, have you noticed we're not alone?" She nods like she knows the truth. Those wind spirits weren't guessing. They've been warning her about the pursuers. Ray lets it slip that detection magic has been running non-stop since they left the city, and trust me, he's no amateur. He's already tallied them, 6 riders altogether. They've been staying just out of reach, biding their time, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. He whips around to Lydiana and asks, "So what do you want to do?" Her answer comes out sharp and clear, "We cut out the threat." Ray says he'll take care of it by himself, but Lydiana refuses to back down and insists on coming with him. He stares at her, basically asking, "You ready to throw down again?" She locks eyes with unstoppable confidence, and yeah, she's ready for whatever's coming. With a silent nod, they sprint out to cut off their followers. 2 of the hunters are bent over their horses, brushing and adjusting, totally clueless that trouble's about to hit. Ray and Lydiana burst out of the shadows, and Ray snaps his hand up, signaling exactly how many targets they're going for. Lydiana shuts her eyes tight and summons the wind spirits. She rips into the first man with a devastating windcutter spell. His companion can only gape in pure shock as the attack finally lands. A man gasps as an invisible blade silences him, and just like that, his life is over. Ray surged forward to take down the second target. Beneath the silent watch of the stars, the last 4 pursuers snapped back together and regrouped. One of them starts panicking and blurts out that they should just bail. But their leader sneers at the thought of letting a prize like Lydiana slip away. Seriously, her sidekick is just this scrawny kid, so what in the world could possibly go wrong? A throwing knife whistles straight to the throat, and that answer hits instantly. The others can only stare in terror as their leader crumples to the ground. The new man in charge steps forward, and fury hardens his face into a clenched, unbreakable mask. He catches Lydiana shouting orders, "Capture her alive, not dead." But Ray isn't done. She hurls out a roaring flood of water and takes control. Every time they misspell it, they get tossed aside, utterly helpless, like the word just took them out of the game. He leans in and fires a question at Lydiana, "Is that all of them?" He remembers spotting those same men again at the guild, eyes locked on every single move they made. He connects the dots instantly. Lydiana was the target from the very beginning. She blurts out an apology, admitting she'd been careless. She normally disguises herself as a human, but this time, somehow, she totally forgot. Ray tells her it's not her fault, then he sweeps the whole mess away with a roaring wall of fire. They just stared as the flames died down. This threat was finally crushed. Lydiana's jaw drops as she blurts, "How in the world are you casting spells this powerful without even a chant?" He leans in and says, "Once you grasp the principles, incantations are nothing but training wheels." Principles trips her up, so he leans in and asks one easy question, "What is water?" She basically shrugs and says, "Water is water, and honestly, you can't argue with that logic." He leans in and rewords it, asking her straight up, does she even know how water gets made? She flashes a proud smile and declares it like a miracle, the spirits did it, but of course, everyone knows that's just fantasy. Ray can only let out a heavy sigh, realizing he's trying to teach science in a world where magic rules everything. To prove she's right, Lydiana hurls a thunderous lightning spell straight from her own hands. Ray admits that power display is insane, but when he lays out his science lesson, it totally leaves her stunned and lost for words. Lydiana stared in disbelief, because he somehow mastered a legendary spell in just one wild night. But Ray knows the truth. Those days didn't come from nowhere, and her mana control is leagues beyond anything he can touch. A few days later, their adventure surges forward and lands them in a giant port city. Lydiana leans in and explains that Masara is the trading hub for everything, legal deals, shady deals, and all the in-between. And that's why she winks, because a disguise isn't optional, it's a must. Ray shoots her hand out to feel her fake ears, and a hot blush instantly flares across her face. He blurts out a fast apology, but she snaps, "Then warn me next time," and shuts it down. She tells him this is the city where the heroes are staying. And she's not done yet. She's got to track down her sister's final resting place before she can finally move on. Ray meets her eyes with total understanding and gives a quiet, wholehearted nod. Their very first stop is that familiar inn everyone keeps talking about. The innkeeper beams at them and leans in, asking, "So, do you want a room?" Lydiana leans in and asks what the last tenants left behind in room 203. The innkeeper nods, confirms the bill's settled, and shoves her sister's adventurer tag into her hands. He drops a tiny box onto the counter. Lydiana promises she'll cover the room, but Ray shoots back that staying here is a total nightmare. The innkeeper narrows his eyes and stares them down, as if he's trying to catch every single secret in the room. He offers Lydiana a double room, and she snaps it up instantly, shocking everyone in the process. Later on, he decides it's safer to keep her close, because the thought of another panic attack is too much. In their room, Lydiana lets out a breath of relief. She's finally gotten her magic bag back. Ray has zero clue what it is, so she jumps in and offers a quick demonstration. She yanks a full-sized sword out of that tiny box and he's left speechless, totally stunned. She leans in and swears it's a magic item, one that hides way more power than it ever lets on. And because it was linked to her mana, she knew those priceless contents were in safe hands. Ray plunged inside and stared in awe at the pocket dimension hidden within. Lydiana brags that she's found a rare treasure worth a fortune, and even though it's a miracle it's back in her hands, he just can't hide how happy he is about it. Once her things were back in hand, she declared it was time to tackle their next errand. They rush back to the front desk, and the innkeeper greets them all over again like nothing happened. Lydiana slammed a heavy pouch of coins onto the counter with a thud. Her expression hardens, she grabs the reins and demands to know what they did to the elf's body. The innkeeper fidgets and grips a pouch of coins like it might slip away any second. He stammers, insisting he can't just spill guest information. But Lydiana isn't waiting for answers, she's paying for the truth. He finally snaps, blurting out the truth: yeah, there was a body. He tells them the royal knights showed up and swept everything away. Lydiana freezes, what, the royal knights all the way out here? The innkeeper blurts out that someone gave him strict orders, he better keep his mouth shut. Ray digs into this brand new, dangerous piece of the puzzle. Lydiana gratefully thanks him for the info, then strides off and cashes in with the payment. As they drift farther away, she drops a quick line, thank God they didn't stick around there. They track down way better lodging at a seriously reputable place. Over dinner, Lydiana can't shake the feeling that it's crazy, royal knights shouldn't be this far from the capital. But Ray knows exactly what that means, our heroes just seized the kingdom. They're scrambling to cover up their 4 comrades, vanishing without a trace. Lydiana realizes that hunting down her sister's body right now would be a straight-up death sentence. Ray leans in and demands, you sure you wanna bail on Mergit like we planned? She smiles and whispers that her sister is probably resting in peace somewhere beyond this world. But her eyes scream the truth, way louder than her words. He snaps his focus to her in an instant, and her voice turns deadly serious. Then she dropped the one question that shattered his world, tell me, are you from another world? Ray's composure crumbles, he almost spits out his wine like, so much for the master of stealth. She tells him she's had a gut feeling for ages, and it's only getting stronger. His manners are so refined they could shame a noble, yet the second he's on a horse he can't ride a lick. But the biggest clue hits harder than anything, the spirits keep zeroing in on him. She'd never seen opposing spirits, fire and water, circle one person so peacefully like they were made to coexist. She leans in and tells him, loud and clear, that it doesn't matter where he's from, she doesn't care. But she still can't leave for 2 whole months, not with this secret dangling between them like a ticking bomb. Ray knows she's got the truth, and his cover is blown, no hiding now. He needs her on board, and that only happens when trust is solid enough to hold everything up. He finally caves and decides the time has come, he's going to lay it all on the table and tell her everything. Lydiana leaned in with total focus, nodding like, go on, tell me everything. So Ray leans in and spills the whole truth, his past life as an assassin. And now he's on a ruthless mission to wipe out the 32 heroes, all because a goddess asked him to. She presses him, asking if saving her was just some job routine, but he shakes his head and admits it was pure coincidence. He admits that if his targets hadn't been heroes, he might have let it slide and never stepped in. But Lydiana doesn't care about his excuses, her gratitude is the real deal, no pretending. She still can't help but wonder, will dwarven weapons even cut through them? And just like that, her enchanted blade cracked and shattered against their defenses. Ray tells him every enemy has a weakness, and the right weapons don't change the rules, they just give Ray more brutal ways to exploit it. He can't stop grumbling that he needs a katana, only problem is in this world that weapon doesn't even exist. But the second katana hits the air, Lydiana's focus snaps like a blade. He's completely stunned when he realizes she's actually seen one before in Merged. She tells us about a hero from 200 years back who fought with it but then admits the truth: it was brutal to master. Ray snaps back to reading about that very hero in the guild's archives. He can't stop thinking they just yanked a real samurai straight out of Japan's Edo period. Now that's a crossover episode for the books. Lydiana asks if katanas are everywhere in his world, and Curtin just waves it off like it's no big deal. He leans in and tells you his world's weapons pack a way bigger blast. The second he brings up gunpowder, Lydiana's eyes blaze. She's already seen explosions in Mergedy. Ray cracks a confident grin, his resolve hardens, and he pushes forward because he has to reach the Dwarven Kingdom. Now that his story is finally out, he leans on the edge and stares out over the whole city. He slams the choice down: travel with him and you'll instantly become the kingdom's #1 enemy. Lydiana just flashes a smile and reminds him, straight up, that as an elf she'll outlast any grudge he can throw her way. And the kingdom that shields her sister's killers, yeah, it's already her enemy. She asks if that's the ultimate proof to make her join his cause. He nods and says it's plenty, then promises, "I'll help you in return." Across their separate balconies they locked in their alliance, no turning back. Meanwhile, in the Dragon Kingdom of Drazen, a messenger bursts in, shouting an urgent warning that makes everyone freeze. A gut-churning horde of 10,000 plus undead is marching straight on the kingdom. And with 0 warnings coming in, you can tell they've already swept through and wiped out the nearby villages. The messenger leans in and drops the brutal truth: this horde is packed with their own fallen brethren. A seemingly endless army of the dead keeps marching forward, like the ocean itself won't stop. Humans, beasts, and even dragons have been yanked into puppet strings like they're being controlled from somewhere unseen. The dragon commander realizes they've run out of time for evacuation. He slams the gate shut and orders the wyvern riders into action, right now. From the stormy skies above, blazing fire rains down, smashing into the unbreakable army. But the dragon rider can't land a real win, only curses, and their power is no match for the sheer crush of numbers. His subordinate blurts out that their mana's about to run dry, and it screams that they need to pivot to a whole new strategy. But the undead army doesn't just march, they've got their own deadly archers ready to rain death from the shadows. Wyvern shrieks as a barrage of arrows tears into it. Commander barks orders for his troops to scatter fast and climb hard into the sky. Then right from the ground below, a brand new threat bursts into existence. A monstrous spear of dark energy rockets straight at them. Meanwhile, deep inside the Oblivion Kingdom, the heroes are chilling in a totally casual meeting, until one of them is literally dangling from the ceiling like it's no big deal. Then another person snaps that he's the only one actually doing any real work around here. Necromancer snaps that ruling a whole undead army is already more than enough work. The Sword Saint grabs everyone's attention and demands they remember why they're here in the first place. The blonde hero flashes a grin and says, "All right, let's go over that massive grand strategy again," like they've got a secret to unleash. He lays it all out: Oblivion Kingdom's corrupt to the bone and it's starting to crumble. With no fresh source of income, this whole place will be starving in just a few years. He lays it out plain: with no other choices left, the only move that makes sense is to invade. Their eyes are locked on Drazen, because its salt lakes are the lifeline everyone needs. Necromancer clearly gets it, while his leader's not buying a single word. Back at the siege, the Dragonkin defenders are getting hammered and driven back inch by inch. The undead horde surges up the walls, smashing through their defenses in a crushing wave. Commander gets a brutal report: his left flank has been crushed and the line is breaking. Suddenly, a lone rider bursts onto the scene and barks the order to stop the attack. He storms in and introduces himself as the commander of the Oblivion Kingdom, and gives them one brutal choice: kneel and surrender or get wiped out. In the Oblivion Kingdom, the heroes huddle up, gears grinding as they brace for their next move. But a terrified servant spots someone closing in at the gates. Gates slammed open and there they were, Dragonkin defenders, ready to meet anything head-on. Their king strides forward and challenges someone to a duel to end the whole conflict for good. If he slips up and loses, that kingdom is theirs for the taking. But if he wins, they'll have to pull back their forces and get out. The heroes can't believe it. His daring plan sounds brave at first, but deep down they're worried it might be pure foolishness. And just like that, they all erupted into laughter. Their leader watches the king's desperation unfold and finds it downright hilarious. Necromancer smirks and says, "Let my army finish them, just sit back and watch." But Takashiro can't stand the idea, it sounds way too dull to him. He smirks and agrees to the king's terms, like he's doing it out of pure pity. He's asking whether the dragonkin is truly happy with this deal. King nods instantly, no delay, no doubt. That hero's smile isn't comforting at all, it's downright unsettling. He whirls on the sword saint and begs her to be their champion. She strides into the arena, eyes locked in, ready to tear into the duel. Dragon King steps forward and makes his official introduction to his opponent. She flashes back the gesture, gives her name Shureishi Hibiki. Two champions square up, and the fate of the whole kingdom hangs on every move. He leans in and orders her to draw her weapon. She simply stares at her empty hand. The king thrusts his blade up, daring her to make peace with that hesitation or face what comes next. But her draw snaps out so fast it's unreal, and his own moves feel like they're stuck in slow motion. With a flash of steel, she snaps his attack aside like it's nothing. She realizes his attack is so predictable it might as well be written on the wall. Her friend whoops from the sidelines as the king stumbles, completely blindsided. Takashiro flashes a smug grin, remembering the promise he'd let them run wild however they wanted. The king's guards burst forward, forming a wall to shield their leader at all costs. But the hero leader slams his hand forward and unleashes a blazing flame lance of his own. Takashiro casually tosses out the idea of adding the guards to the necromancer's collection. His companion grumbles that he wants his minions just a bit less, well, at least not so well done. But even so, he storms into work and hurls a spell that orders the fallen to obey. A searing burn on his hand jerks back, then suddenly it comes alive. Dragon King can only stand there, frozen in pure, absolute terror. The necromancer snaps one of his brand new puppets to a halt with a single, effortless gesture. The king is forced to stare as his own men get twisted into monsters right in front of his eyes. The arena floor is soaked in the wreckage of the undead, and the freshly risen soldiers stagger forward, boots scraping the ground as they advance. Takashiro grins as he announces it, the kingdom of Drazen is officially conquered. The heroes stare in disbelief, because this victory feels unstoppable. Their leader is already locked onto the next prize, the Jiltrude Republic, where chaos rules and every secret hits like a thunderclap. Meanwhile, our hero's wild ride slams them right into that same nation. They burst into the loud, non-stop Republic of Jiltrude. Ray can't believe they sail through the border so easily, and Lydiana just shrugs it off, her B-rank tag did it. She leans in and asks, "So, are you glad we teamed up?" He admits it way too honestly, and straight up says he's grateful. His blunt honesty hits her like a sudden wave, and she's left totally thrown off. Still, he can't stop himself from noticing something that feels way too important to ignore. This city is downright thriving, way more prosperous than any in Oblivion, no question. The streets thrum with merchants hawking their goods everywhere, like the whole town's buzzing to trade. Lydiana tells everyone because Jiltrude runs on trade, it's already miles ahead, its civilization is insanely well developed. Oblivion is getting choked by ruthless trade sanctions. She blurts out, stunned, like, what on earth did that kingdom do to deserve a reputation this brutal? That night back at the inn, they huddle up, map out the plan, and Lydiana pushes them straight toward the capital. Ray blurts out, "Are we renting horses again?" like he can't wait, while his enthusiasm somehow hits rock bottom. Lydiana shrugs it off with a playful grin, like that idea is totally ridiculous. She winks at you and says, "For long-distance travel around here, we've got a way better option." Ray is totally floored when a gigantic train rumbles into view, because in this fantasy world, that's the last thing he ever thought he'd see. Lydiana tells him the trains were forged by dwarves, but the whole rail network is anchored on Jiltrude. With a sly smirk, she says the tracks don't go to Oblivion, the kingdom that's clearly been abandoned and forgotten by time. A fresh announcement just dropped, sealing their destination, the capital city of Manorbel, 3 days of relentless travel ahead. In their private car, Lydiana lets out a grateful gasp, because they could have been stuck waiting more than a week. And just like that, the magic-powered locomotive blasts into the night, ripping open the darkness as it heads out on its journey. To kill the minutes, Ray digs out a book he snagged right at the border. Lydiana's jaw drops when she realizes he shelled out a full gold coin for that, an absolutely brutal price for what's basically just light reading. He flashes the screen at her, one title glowing as flight magic, the other screaming barriers. With a sharp grin, he tells you grimoires are etched in an ancient tongue. Lydiana's jaw drops, wait, he can ** actually read them. She rages that scholars would swarm him with applications, then claw each other to death just to get the chance to hire him. Ray figures it smarter to keep this skill totally hidden. He skims the text with total confidence, sure he's about to crack the principles of flight for good. Lydiana admits she's already tried wind magic before, but it failed every single time. She tells him she tried to whip up an updraft under her, but it still wasn't strong enough. Ray snaps the book shut, itching to unload some serious science straight into aerodynamics and gravity control. Lydiana's eyes flare with excitement. 3 whole days on the train means they've got all the time in the world to study. But just as they settle in for their study session, a scream from outside tears the moment apart. 3 days later, they finally roll into the capital of Jiltrude, Manhwa, safe and sound. Lydiana tells him their next hop toward merged kicks off in 3 days, and she's already booked them a room. Ray practically buzzes with excitement to hit the books again, while Lydiana's face screams no way at the thought. They figure this downtime is the perfect chance to put his brand new magic through the test, and if luck's on their side, maybe bump him up to a higher adventurer rank too. Their very first stop, the local Adventurers Guild branch. They slip inside and vanish right into the crowd, weaving among battle-hardened adventurers like they've done it 100 times. While they scan the quest board, one wild notice snaps their attention, an undead request that screams trouble. Guild staffer leans in and tells you undead sightings are skyrocketing. Most adventurers refuse those jobs, and Ray shrugs like it all makes perfect sense. Lydiana lays it all out, those quests pay peanuts, and the skills you need are so oddly specific they might as well be impossible. And honestly, if you're one tiny scratch away from being dragged into their ranks, it's no wonder everyone's running from these quests. Lydiana adds one more unsettling detail. The undead reek so badly you can practically smell the curse on them. So they decide to hit the training grounds and start getting serious. In a calm clearing, the two of them clash, sparring starts immediately. Eyes narrowed, he braced, like he couldn't wait another second for the lesson to kick off. He snaps her punches aside, relentlessly probing her stance. But Lydiana is a born prodigy. Her movements glide smooth, sharp, and perfectly on point. He snaps in with a quick correction, telling her to loosen her grip right now. Their blades collide with a furious burst of steel, sparks flying everywhere. He's training her in swordsmanship, pulling moves straight from his past life. Lydiana gets slammed right up against her limits, but she's catching on fast. The fight snaps shut with her blade pressing right under his throat. He can do nothing but smile, totally blown away by her skill. She erupts in a triumphant cheer, celebrating her victory like she just conquered the world. Seriously, when do you ever actually beat a master assassin? Ray stares at her wild improvement and can't believe her eyes, because she's not just learning fast, she's a legit prodigy. She pitches a deal, teach her magic, and she'll train him with the sword. He can't stop asking himself how much of that deadly knowledge he dares to hand over. But just as they're firing on all cylinders, a sudden presence crashes the training to a halt. He spots 2 figures creeping nearby, then his gut screams there are even more undead closing in. They crouch behind the trees and scan the area, validating his gut feeling. Lydiana asks if he's going to take care of it, and for a second, he hesitates like he's afraid to commit. He remembers regular magic barely scratches them. 2 zombies shamble right by, totally oblivious to the presence lurking right there. Ray steps forward and unleashes a brand new spell, purification. The undead crumble away, dissolving into tiny motes of glowing light. Lydiana freezes in shock. Holy magic is practically a myth outside the church. He snatches the magic stone the guild left behind, holding the proof like a trophy. She pushes them to hunt again to crank up his rank, and he nods right along. But his detection magic suddenly spirals out of control. He just gapes in disbelief at the ridiculous mountain of contacts, over 100 of them. He snaps back mid-sentence, no, it's not 100, it's over 1,000. A tidal wave of undead surged in, way bigger than he could have ever imagined. Lydiana can feel it, this isn't just some mindless swarm. An entire army of the dead surges over the hill like a nightmare coming to life. This turns into a full-on stampede, and everything goes chaotic in a blink. And right now, the city guards are blaring the alarm, and you can hear the whole place snap into panic. The whole local command is in total chaos, screaming how this could have hit them with zero warning. Commander knows one thing for sure, they can't count on adventurers for this. They're slamming the gates shut, but their army is drowning in numbers and the odds are crushing them. He blasts desperate pleas for help to every single guild in the city. Because if they mess up, this whole city gets erased from the map. Meanwhile, a fancy luxury carriage rams through the chaos like it owns the road. Inside, the necromancer hero grumbles non-stop about that brutal month-long journey. His companions scramble to apologize because they're already halfway through a way faster dragon flight. Necromancer just scoffs, furious that their own leader had way better things to do. As they roll down the road, they spot Giltrude's magic-powered trains, humming like living machines. Necromancer leans in and tells them, "These magic stones are what power me." His companions are already plotting their takeover, capturing this nation and driving the railway expansion wide open. And yeah, it's that classic villain monologue vibe again. But that necromancer, he's not plotting world domination, he just wants a nap because being a villain is exhausting work. Suddenly his eyes narrowed to deadly slits. He can't ignore it, something inside him snaps like a bond just got cut. One of his puppets just disappeared, right before his eyes. He stares out the window, stunned out of his mind, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. His undead army keeps charging forward, no mercy, no pause. And just like that, one after another, they start to unravel, until all that's left is pure light. Vanished without a trace, like the world just erased him from existence. Inside, the heroes freeze in shock at what they're seeing. One of them spots a lone figure in the distance, standing there alone, purifying the whole horde by himself. Necromancer seethes with rage, furious that someone is slaughtering his precious minions. He whips around to Bo Saint Yuko and demands her help. Bose gave that request a hard no, and it sure didn't sound like a happy Winks answer. She snaps her bowstring and hurls an arrow forward so fast it's practically a flash of light. Ray slips out of the way at the last second, and the attack blasts past him by mere inches. The Sword Saint is left totally speechless, someone actually dodged her friend's shot. Ray stays ice calm, eyes sharp as he sizes up this brand new threat. While the necromancer grumbles about his shrinking army, the two girls step up and decide to join the battle. Ray braces himself and he realizes this situation has blown way past the point of control. He's completely stunned by how insanely fast the Bow Saints unleash their attack. His intel nailed it, magical defenses don't stand a chance against them. He and Lydiana huddled in the trees, eyes locked on the distant road as a carriage crept closer. Undead swarm it like a curse, that thing is the reason everything's going wrong. Ray fires off his detection magic and locks onto 3 targets hidden inside. His upgraded eyes zoom straight into the carriage, like the world just got sharper. Now he can see them crystal clear, those heroes still rocking their school uniforms. Rage claws at Lydiana and she lunges, then Ray slams into her and yanks her back. She grabs him tight, begging him to listen, this is her battle and she won't back down. He tells her to cool it, because going off on heroes recklessly is basically a death wish. He snaps in the new info instantly, and his mind races at full speed. He locks onto the necromancer Nanahoshi, the Sword Saint Shurishi Hibiki, legend with blades for breath. And then right after the Bow Saint Sato Yuko. Necromancer, Sword Saint, Bow Saint, 3 more brutal titles added to his hit list. He decides, if I'm knocking someone out, it's Nanahoshi. Necromancer steps in and smugly confirms, yeah, he's the mastermind behind the whole undead stampede. His goal is to turn the entire city into his own puppet collection, like some classic old-school villain with a delightfully twisted hobby. Ray realizes he can't take on all 3 at once, especially when 2 of them are ruthless martial arts experts. He snaps together a plan on the spot. He's going to lure the Sword and Bow Saints right onto him, while Lydiana seizes the chaos and rips the necromancer down before he can react. He yanks out a tiny vial, clenches it like a promise, and gets ready for the fight that's about to hit. It's a mana recovery potion, an ugly little necessity we gulp down because a brutal battle is coming. But then it hits him, the one fatal flaw in his perfect body. If poison can't take him down, then medicine is useless too. He strides out to face them head-on, and the Bow Saint's eyes go wide, shocked he's a swordsman, not some mage. She even clocked his good looks, saying he's basically their age. 2 heroes lock in, one grinning like it's a game, the other snapping into full no-nonsense mode. His mind raced as he clocked his foes, ***, the Bow Saint ***, and the Sword Saint ***. The 3 of them square up in the clearing, breathing hard, because the battle is about to explode. The Sword Saint smirks and then steps up like, I'll take him myself. With one sharp flick of her foot, she whips up a little rock to use as a distraction. In the blink of an eye, she's on him, her blade slicing through the air like a streak of lightning. Ray barely scrapes by, parrying a lightning-fast strike with just enough time to breathe. He's left speechless by the raw speed of her attack. They rip apart on the spot, and the first clash is already done. The Sword Saint looked genuinely impressed. His new skill to dodge had him feeling dangerously good. Ray can only tremble and sweat as it hits him. This is the real power of a saint. Her friend just stands there on the sidelines, grinning and soaking up every second of the show. He gets shoved back again, her speed smashing straight through him. He knows he can't afford a second of delay. These heroes are on a whole other level. He has no choice. He dumps mana into his body, cranking his reinforcement to the absolute edge. Meanwhile, in the carriage, Lydiana huddles in clothes and readies herself for her move. The Bow Saint leans over and asks if her friend needs a hand, but the Sword Saint just smirks. She's got this, no doubt. Ray's eyes narrow. He's clocked it. Right now, he only needs to handle one of them. He slammed up his guard again, and the impact of that strike rattled his whole body. The Sword Saint snaps him back for staring off, and his distraction doesn't slip by unnoticed. She clocks it instantly. The blade in his hand is top-tier steel, way better than his skill alone should ever justify. Ray clenched his teeth, finally realizing she wasn't fighting him, she was just playing with him. She smirks and admits he actually looks like he's had a little basic training. He slams aside yet another strike, and sparks explode off their blades. Her eyes cut like blades, and her focus locks on with unstoppable certainty. He studies every flick of her blade, and you can practically see the years of training kick in muscle memory taking over like clockwork. That's the real power of the Sword Saint. But then he spots something else. Her technique isn't just weak, it's sloppy and totally unrefined. What she's missing hits him all at once, real experience, the kind you can't fake. She's never once tasted the raw, primal terror of a real deathmatch. And that's exactly the weakness he can go after and exploit without mercy. With a brutal stomp, he snaps his stance into place. He rips open a technique from his past life, and an afterimage explodes behind him. The Sword Saint gets ambushed mid-move and has to slam his blade up to stop it, fully caught off guard. She realizes his moves have completely flipped. Everything about how he moves is different now. He crashes forward in a full-on assault, all motion and clashing steel. She can't move a muscle, only gawk as his blade sinks in, right where it's meant to. One lone drop of blood slides down her cheek like it's hunting for the next heartbeat. Bow Saint blurts out her friend's name, shocked out of her mind. Ray unleashes a raging torrent of water, hitting with a move he calls water flow. Shuriishi fights for his life as a sudden magical onslaught slams into him. He snaps the water into ice around her instantly. A brutal burst of cold slams into her out of nowhere, freezing her completely off guard. Then he blasts out fire, so fast the temperature snaps like lightning. She clenches her teeth and pushes through the scorching heat like it's trying to break her. She snaps that his tactics are shameless, but this isn't some friendly spar, it's a real fight. She snaps to the truth, her body isn't obeying her anymore. Those wild, extreme temperature swings have her senses completely deadened. Her eyes bulge wide and pure horror crashes over her. Ray lunges in to land the last hit, using a killer move called **Obro***. He slams a perfect hit into her back. Her friend can only shriek her name, terrified out of her mind. But Ray knows that hit didn't bite deep enough. The Sword Saint lurches forward, bleeding and battered, but he refuses to fall. Her sword slips free from her grasp, and she gasps as it goes. But she's not done. She yanks her holy sword back into the fight with a fresh summon. Ray's eyes widen with a quick stunned shock. He realizes this is about to explode into something way more complicated. Ray stares in disbelief as his whole plan starts crumbling right before his eyes. The Sword Saint snaps her gaze back right at him, and that tiny cut on her cheek flashes like a badge of pure, seething rage. She tells him, "Don't you worry about me." Her brand new blade slices through anything asterisk, even magic itself. Ray snaps his eyes forward and kicks off a chant of his very own. He summoned the spirits of the dead. Two warriors collide again, this time it's going to be brutal. She's convinced her speed is more than enough to slam the door on this. But Ray still has one final weapon left from his old life. He barrels straight at her charge, just a blur tearing through the air. In the heat of the exchange, his arm gets ripped clean off. The Sword Saint is left speechless, totally blindsided by just how brutally this all goes down. But Ray's face stays locked in the same calm expression. Her blade is pressed to his throat, and just like that, the fight looks finished. Bow Saint erupts into a victory cry, daring everyone to hear it. But the severed arm suddenly clamps onto the Sword Saint's leg, because that absolutely isn't supposed to happen. He clenches harder and harder, then the terrifying twist hits like a nightmare. She gasps in pain, eyes wide with pure confusion. He finally yanks the truth into the light. His arm isn't real at all, it's a puppet, a decoy he crafted. Bo's nation can only stare in total disbelief, like their whole world just got flipped. Ray finally rips away the mask, his real arm is fully exposed and it's completely unharmed. He spits out curses, realizing he blew his only chance the moment the bossing barges in. He sharpens a lightning-charged arrow until it crackles with power, and launches it, slicing the air with deadly pinpoint accuracy. The arrow hits dead center and Ray gets knocked back hard, reeling in shock. He spits blood from the blow and the impact hits him like a death knell. The Sword Saint clenched her teeth, shaking off the shock like it was a punch to the soul. Bo Saint yanks her bow back into place and refuses to slow down, unleashing a spell that rips into reality and twists space right in front of them. Her eyes snap wide with pure shock as the attack slips past her, completely missing. Ray gets launched into the air like the attack just ripped him off his feet. Necromancer spits a curse, then his mana finally sputters out. When the two heroes finally regroup, Ray crumples to the ground. He finally gets it, he totally misread how hard they'd back each other up. But he can't shake the truth, something or someone swooped in and saved him. His vision starts to blur and his consciousness slips away as the heroes fall back. He sprawls on the ground, and the wound in his side pours blood without mercy. All he can think about is shutting the bleeding down, right now before it's too late. Inside the carriage, the necromancer starts grumbling that this is taking way too long. He can't help but wonder what his crew's up to, because they're just toying with their opponent like it's nothing. But just as he's ranting, a sudden spray of red hits the window and shuts him up. He drops his gaze in total disbelief, like the world just shattered. Lydiana loomed over him, her blade finally biting true. Yeah, he really should have watched what he was doing. She snaps that she's made her choice, every hero has to be wiped out. So she could survive for herself, and for Ray too. She hurls a cataclysmic bolt of lightning that wrecks everything in its path. Necromancer gets totally annihilated by the blast, leaving nothing behind. Lydiana shouts Ray's name, her part of the plan is finally done. In a flashback, Ray pulls out the plan and lays out the strategy like it's a blueprint for victory. He was about to steal the spotlight from both fighters. It gave her the perfect shot to strike the Necromancer the moment he was finally alone. Lydiana admits she couldn't possibly take them all on at once. In the present, Ray makes his move, luring the heroes away like a magnet. Lydiana's eyes burn with cold, unshakable fury, like she's ready to strike no matter what. She threads through the last undead like a knife through shadows, rapidly closing in on her target. The Bo Saint is still crouched over her wounded friend, tending to every painful injury like her life depends on it. Lydiana lunges in from behind, and the hit lands before she even gets a chance to react. She shoots a furious glare at the Bo Saint, the monster who blasted Ray. The Sword Saint whips her gaze back, and her eyes burn Lydiana's face into her memory forever. Lydiana screams his name as Ray finally gives out from his injuries and collapses. Lydiana frantically yanks out every single healing potion she's got, one after another. Her hands tremble uncontrollably as she gets the vials ready. She shoves the medicine toward his mouth, trying to make him swallow it, begging him to hang on because if he didn't, he'd die. But the blood keeps gushing, like it refuses to quit. She freezes in pure disbelief, those potions do nothing at all. Chilling realization starts creeping into her mind. Ray boasts that his flawless body isn't just strong, it's totally immune to medicine, and right now, that's an insane advantage. She yanks his arm and the truth hits hard, medicine won't do a thing. But she still believes her healing magic could work again. First, she's got to smash through the undead that are still left. She glares down at the obstacles that dare to block her path, summoning the spirits of wind and water, and unleash the raw, crackling power of lightning itself. She snaps her command and makes them all crowd around her, unleash their power and smash through the path ahead. She rips into the air with a devastating tempest spell. A crackling storm of raw energy tears through the battlefield like lightning on steroids, ripping the undead army apart with every brutal strike, until there's not a single thing left standing. From atop the city walls, the guildmaster stares down, jaw dropped, completely spellbound. He and his crew can't wrap their heads around what's unfolding right in front of them. A mysterious man burst into the scene and wiped out an entire horde with pure, relentless purification. Then squared off with a legendary swordswoman and slammed into a deadlock, neither able to break the other. The city's priests crumble under the sheer shock, and they all start shouting that he's the savior. Right then, a guard bursts in, pale and frantic, shouting an urgent report. The guildmaster snaps his command, "Open the gates right now." As their attack arcs wide, Lydiana scoops up Ray and bolts him to safety. The guildmaster and his crew just stand there, stunned, frozen, unable to do a damn thing. He strides up and introduces himself, Mulligan. Lydiana steps forward, introduces herself, and demands a healer, right now for her fallen companion. They dragged him into a church, and his life teetered on a single trembling thread. Meanwhile, deep in the Oblivion Kingdom, everything's about to go down. Sword Saint Shiraishi is still reeling from her crushing defeat. She and the Bow Saint flee to the palace, where they finally find safety behind its walls. The feel of his blade in his memory won't let him breathe, an unending, infuriating reminder. She sneaks a peek into the room, and pure worry twists her face. She's realized that her own first aid won't stand a chance against the injuries she's dealing with. With their mission already doomed, they brace themselves to escape before everything falls apart. Bow Saint grabs her battered friend and hauls her onto their dragon. And the two heroes burst into the sky, escaping with their lives on the line. Their leader, Takashiro, hears that the man who just went and injured his top fighter is out there. Shiraishi's eyes blaze with pure hatred, and she swears she'll never forgive him. A week later, Manor Bell was finally crawling back to life, the city fighting its way into recovery. They reach the Republic's central government building. The council slams down their demand, then orders a full, detailed report on the incident right now. Guildmaster Mulligan strides up, then fires up his explanation. He says the adventurers are still mopping up the last undead lurking out there. But the attacker's trail is still cold, and the two female heroes are nowhere to be found. And the necromancer's body they left behind, where it went, is still a total mystery. Seeing dragon kin scattered around here hints at a deadly connection to the fallen Drazen kingdom. But the council members are all locked in on something else entirely. They're dying to hear how those two heroes saved their city. Mulligan tells everyone Ray was rescued by the church's healers, and right now, he's finally resting. The council's leader snaps in, cutting everyone off, and demands to know exactly who they are. He rants that Mulligan's report hasn't uncovered a single thing worth knowing, and commands him to unleash his authority and interrogate the B-rank elf. The council's real agenda finally starts to spill into the open. They demanded to know why they'd ever lift a finger for adventurers who just fought off a whole horde. They had the chance to let the whole city collapse, but nope, they couldn't, so what, that's ungrateful now. Mulligan fires back that sure, they saved the city, but make no mistake, they're terrifyingly too dangerous to trust. He throws their minds back to the raw power Lydiana unleashed, so much force it could have snapped toward them in an instant. The council leader leans in and demands to know, are they really that much of a threat? Mulligan doesn't hesitate, he says it flat out, both of them are at least A rank. The leader finally clicks, and you can feel the weight of the situation hit them. He flips the script, barks at Mulligan to treat them like heroes, and demands a full report back. And just like that, the guildmaster sets off, straight toward the saviors who'll rescue his city. Meanwhile, in Ray's recovery room, Lydiana slips into nurse mode and tends to him like she owns the place. Ray swears he can take care of himself, but she shuts that down fast. He's not worried about anything else, he's straight up telling her to put some clothes on first. Priorities, bro. But she leans in close and demands he's not fully healed, yet. Right as Mulligan strides in, perfect timing, like the universe planned it. He clears his throat, forcing himself to look past a situation so compromising it practically screams. Lydiana glares at him, demanding to know what he wants, while Ray can't stop wishing the floor would open up and swallow him whole. Mulligan blurts out an apology for the brutal timing, then begs for just a moment of their time. He steps up and formally introduces himself as the Guild Master of Manor Bell. Ray can't believe it, why would a guildmaster be so polite to some random adventurer? Then Lydiana smirks, instantly clocking his game, he's here to hand them an S-rank certification. A word that throws Ray into total darkness, like the meaning just vanishes into thin air. S-rank is reserved for monsters with disaster-level power, so lethal they can take on entire nations all by themselves. Mulligan confirms her hunch, and just like that, the Guild HQ officially promotes both of them. Lydiana leans in and asks, so what's the real difference between an A rank and an S rank? She snaps to the truth right away, this is huge, because it hands them freedom with no nation or guild tying them down. They can even thumb their noses at national laws, though the guild would much rather they didn't, and it comes wrapped in a painfully polite little suggestion. Perks come with tax exemption and free travel, and that bombshell leaves Ray totally speechless. Mulligan adds that they'll even be handed official titles. Lydiana is going to be feared as the Thunder Empress, while Ray rises as the Holy Emperor. Both of them look absolutely not thrilled about their brand new, ridiculously dramatic nicknames. Good news lands, and just like that, the guildmaster turns and walks out. But right before that, Ray gets overheard dropping the idea, keep going with her treatment, because the timing is everything. Ray calmly tells them the truth. Lydiana somehow put his severed arm back on and healed him. And because her magic bag was working overtime, the spell wouldn't rot away, so he could yank the breeze back into place. Mulligan snaps back to the battlefield, right to the spot where that arm was torn away. He's so shocked he can't even process how it just grew back like nothing happened. Back at the Adventurers Guild, the tension still crackled in the air. His assistant rushes in, clutching the much-needed stomach medicine he can finally use. But she spots her boss, and the shock on his face is absolute. Mulligan won't shut up. He keeps muttering about that impossible healing he swore he just witnessed. His assistant can only blurt out, "Are you okay?" He gulps the medicine down in a hurry. Before he even gets the words out, he blurts out, "No, I'm not okay at all," like it's the only truth he can't hide. His head gets completely swallowed by the arrival of the two brand-new S-rank adventurers. His assistant leans in and asks, "Are we really that dangerous?" He lays out Ray's insane power, one dude, and he's basically a one-man army that can purify thousands. In Lydiana, she can wipe out a whole horde with just one spell. He's sick with the realization that they're total walking disasters with the worst timing possible, because they're also supermodels. She adds that Guild HQ isn't playing around either, they're taking this deadly serious. Seriously, these numbers were so wild, they sounded impossible. They're dispatching a special appraiser to verify it firsthand. That assistant feels like the appraiser herself. Later on back at the guild hall, Ray and Lydiana finally run into the woman headquarters sent in. She swings in and introduces herself, Eve, the appraiser sent straight from HQ. But Mulligan jolts with a gasp. She's realized she didn't come alone at all. She's flanked by two bodyguards who look downright intimidating. One steps in like a knight cut from pure legend, while the other brings out the kind of battle-tested magic that only seasoned mages carry. Mulligan breaks into a cold sweat staring at HQ like, what are they really cooking up? Sven, the rank party's fearless leader, is the knight they're talking about. And yep, the mage is Roy, a lone A-rank adventurer who doesn't mess around. These are the real deal. Sven sneers at Eve, telling her to mind her tone, and he laughs at the whole idea that these kids could ever be S-rank. Sven steps up and says he'll take care of the boy personally, and the mage fires back that the girl is S-rank too. Ray just flicks his hand, ordering them to wrap it up and get out. The knight's face contorts with pure rage, stunned by how bold that kid is. But then, right behind her eye patch, Eve spots something, one look that flips everything upside down. His eyes shot wide with shock, and total surprise hit in an instant. Sven is totally thrown off by how instantly the whole room flips on him. Now the HQ appraiser is dropping to his knees on the floor, bowing to Ray. She blurts out a deep, non-stop apology, crushed by how insanely rude she's been. Ray's expression didn't change a bit as his mind snapped into action over this sudden new twist. Sven yanks Mulligan forward and demands to know what's wrong with his subordinate. Then flash, a blur of movement and a sharp snap rip through the air, cutting him off. The A-rank knight gets slammed to the ground, looks like he just figured out what's really wrong. Ray drops to her knees beside the still bowing Eve and demands to know what she just did. She can only drop to her knees and beg for forgiveness after what she did. Mulligan's left drenched in sweat, staring in shock as he just watched a literal lightning bolt tear the sky open. Ray orders him to grab the bodyguards and get out. He's got to speak with the appraiser in private. The guildmaster nods immediately, but the mage's face twists. He's definitely not okay with it. Lydiana yanks her blade free and the mage can't ignore it. She's got him on her list too. Two men hustle their fallen leader out the door right away. And just like that, the room goes dead quiet until it's only the three of them left in the silence. Ray jumped right in, cornering Eve with a sharp question. What did she see? She starts spilling the story, but her voice won't stop shaking. Her right eye gleams like a magic appraisal lens, ready to judge anything it locks onto. With just a glance, it can peel back your race and drag your hidden powers, the very core of who you are. She blurts out that she was ordered to appraise him, then drops a sincere apology for doing it without his consent. Lydiana can't stop wondering, should she really spill guild secrets that easily? Eve keeps talking, spilling the scan's results like they're secrets she can't wait to reveal. Ray leans in, eyes locked on the shaky uncertainty in front of him. Her gaze dug straight through him, as if it could read his soul. And then the reply hit. Angel was the only name that showed up, while everything else stayed marked as unknown. She fires off her appraisal result again, Angel. Lydiana just froze there, staring in total disbelief at the bombshell she couldn't even process. Eve leans in and reveals the truth. Before she ever joined the guild, she was a devoted follower of the goddess Arya. Now she's fully convinced Rei is a divine messenger, so she swears she'll follow his will no matter what. Lydiana whips her gaze to Rei and he looks just as shocked, like neither of them saw this twist coming. He chooses the safest possible answer, one that'll dodge the mess for now. Meanwhile, the mage bodyguard shoots back and makes it clear he and his partner weren't on a mission by choice, they were just handed escort duty. Rei asked whether he should handle the rude bodyguards, but Eve shot back a quick, firm no. Once everything was locked in, she marched in and handed them their official S-rank adventurer tags. They're forged from adamantite, an insanely rare, unbelievably powerful material that basically screams danger. Eve grins and says the tags are a perfect match for the two of them. And the way she phrases it makes Lydiana's face flare red with pure, furious embarrassment. Lydiana smirks and teases him as Rei realizes they've got to register their mana. He decides it's time to ring up the guildmaster again, right now. Mulligan blasts through the door, clutching the exact registration tool they need. Rei slaps his brand new tag onto the crystal orb and blasts it full of his power. The assistant says the mana registration is officially finished. Mulligan drops the bombshell. From this moment on, their records will be locked tight, only the very highest authorities can access them. He even hands them rank tags for their daily work, so they can blend in and dodge all unwanted attention. Eve turns to Rei and asks, "What should I put in my official report for headquarters?" He flips the question back on them, pressing for what Mulligan already spilled. The Guildmaster rips into Rei's known powers, chantless magic that whips through multiple elements. Master-level swordsmanship in his bones, plus impossible regeneration magic, he's a walking legend straight out of myths. Rei tells her to just file the report, and she nods instantly, ready to do exactly as she's told. Mulligan hammers it into Rei's head. His power isn't just strong, it's wildly abnormal. With her orders locked in, Eve makes up an excuse and slips into the communication room. She tells him the device was built by a hero from long ago. Rei's hooked from the moment it clicks, and Eve backs him up, saying since he's an S-rank, he can fire it off anytime he wants. Mulligan suddenly realizes that getting an appraiser on the case was an insanely smart move. And it screams that this whole scheme was cooked up by someone way beyond the guild's Grand Master. Rei finally clocks it. The Adventurers Guild is anything but a team, and unity is nowhere to be found. Eve snaps back into the room, grinning as she announces, "My report's done." The moment she popped back in, everyone whipped around, stunned that she'd returned so suddenly. She tells him that her report wasn't the only thing she handed in, she also filed her resignation right there. From this moment on, she vows to throw her whole heart into serving Rei and Lydiana. A career switch so sudden it knocks both of them clean off their feet, so shocked they can't even speak. After that, the three of them push through the city streets, one tense step at a time. Then bam, a brand new, wildly unexpected guest crashes their party. Rei tells her she can leave, then immediately insists on coming along with them anyway. As they move, he clocks that her moves aren't those of some ordinary guild staffer. He's piecing it together. She's been specially trained since childhood, but why? Lydiana watches and you can practically feel it. This girl is hiding something big. Rei decides it's time to talk. He suggests they pull over for some tea. Over their drinks, Lydiana leans in and learns Eve is 18, and that she's got beastkin blood running through her veins. Then she drops a seemingly harmless question about her parents. Eve leans in and says, "I was an orphan left at a church and they raised me there." Lydiana leans in close and whispers a sharp little observation to Rei. Eve snaps her gaze upward and demands to know, is he an assassin or an inquisitor? Rei blurts, "What's wrong?" and Lydiana leans in, saying Eve is being hunted by dark spirits, which means she's a full-on practitioner of dark magic. An odd talent for someone raised by the church, where they were usually expected to sling only holy magic from a wheel. Lydiana clicks two things into place: either she's stuck as the church's cleaner, or the guild slipped an inquisitor in her way. Eve shot back fast, insisting, "I'm not an assassin," with a quiet confidence that gave nothing away. She panics on the spot, swearing that her one and only mission is to serve Rei as the goddess's messenger. But Lydiana fires back, "If that claim were real, I'd have marched straight to the church, not the guild." He freezes as a shadow slashes across her face. She blurts out the gut-punch truth: the church that raised her left her behind. Ever since she first got that magic eye, they threw her into training early to shape her into an inquisitor. 6 months back, she got her eye ripped away in the middle of a fight, and the moment her combat power took the hit, they tossed her out, no mercy. Ray freezes, eyes wide, demanding to know what the heck she means by losing her eye. She tells him, "My right eye is for judging," then grins and reveals her left, an eye that's pure magic blazing like fire. Lydiana is totally stunned. She can't believe she's never heard of anyone who has two different magic eyes. Once she lost her main combat power, the church tossed her aside like she'd turned worthless. A guild official swept her in under his wing, and she can't help but feel damn lucky she dodged something way worse. But Lydiana's still stuck in confusion, demanding, "Why would I follow Ray when the church threw me away?" Eve tells them straight up, her faith in the goddess has nothing to do with that rotten institution. She's convinced Ray's arrival is pure heaven-sent destiny, like the answer to every prayer she's ever whispered. She drops the bombshell: the holy messenger the heroes killed wasn't just some messenger, he was sent straight by a divine oracle. Eve got sent to hunt the killers, but they jumped her first. She fought back and lost her eye in the chaos. Ray leans in and demands to know, did the heroes even know what was inside the oracle? She shoots it down because the holy woman doesn't trust the kingdom, and she secretly buries the real message. She yanks out this tiny, plain-looking book like it's hiding something deadly important, and rips it open to uncover the secret text hiding inside. That glowing script screams it, "This is the real oracle." She had no choice but to run for her life to keep it safe, and only her boss knows it even exists. Ray clocks it instantly. If the heroes ever found out who he is, they'd stop playing it safe and get reckless the moment they'd realize it. A grim look locks onto his face as every puzzle piece snaps perfectly into place. Eve is convinced that running into Ray right now isn't a coincidence, it's the goddess forcing fate into motion. Lydiana and Ray lock eyes, both scrambling to absorb that insane info dump. Ray has one last question left to ask. He leans in and fires the question at Eve: what does she think about the heroes? Her eyes sharpen, and with steel in her voice she declares, "You're going to pay for what you did." She remembers the moment she stumbled onto the holy woman's lifeless body. That brutal memory burns in her mind, and it fuels her hunger for revenge. She drops into a bow, offering her deadly dark magic and razor-sharp swordsmanship to their cause. Lydiana whips her head toward Ray and basically begs him to take her along. Ray nods like she fully gets it. Her intel is worth gold. He remembers the goddess naming two holy women, his lifelines, his contacts. He decides to keep her right where she is. For now, he refuses to send her away. Eve bows hard with pure gratitude, and Lydiana immediately starts roasting Ray for being such a softie. He leans in and tells her, "I need to see your real power." At the very end, Eve decides she's done dragging it out, she's going to end this for good. Ray yells her name, and the seriousness on his face hits like a punch. He grabs her attention and orders her to lie down on the bed. He slips her tie loose and nods, yeah, she's in. She shoots off an apology and promises she'll give it everything she's got, even if she's still brand new. Ray is totally clueless, and Lydiana doesn't hold back. She tells him his explanation fell flat. He quickly makes it crystal clear, he's going to fix that missing eye. Eve can only gape in shock, looping his words again and again like he can't believe what he just heard. He breaks it down: yes, the eye can be regenerated, but he can't promise the magic will come back for sure. Still, he shrugs and says, "It's not perfect, but it beats having nothing at all." She nods in agreement, and he shoots his hand up like he's ready to kick things off. A gentle glow spills from his palm as he presses it right over her eye. In the blink of an eye, the treatment is finished. She stares out the window, her sight is completely back, crystal clear. Tears of pure joy spill down her face as her fingertips brush her cheek. She fires off an acrobatic bow so flexible it looks like she's performing a whole stunt just to thank him. Ray tells her to chill, then proposes they run a test on the eye's function later. Right then, Lydiana bursts in with a tray of tea, like she timed it to the exact moment. Ray, utterly spent, begs her to watch over Eve while he finally collapses and rests. Lydiana beams at their new companion, beckoning them in for a chat. Two women drop into their seats for tea, and in that single moment, a brand new bond ignites between them. While Ray, our boy, slumps into a full-on passed-out blackout from sheer effort. Meanwhile, at the Adventurers Guild, things are about to explode. Mulligan straight up tells the two bodyguards, "Your pay just got slashed in half." Knight Sven is absolutely seething over the news. He slams his fist on the desk, demanding answers about Ray's party. But Mulligan shuts him down cold, saying the guild rules won't let him spill a single secret. Sven scoffs and laughs it off, mocking the notion that they could possibly be a threat. Mulligan's stare sharpens like a blade, grilling Sven, wondering if he's really cut out for rank material. Two A-rank adventurers storm out of the office like the place just insulted them. Sven clenched his teeth and swore he wouldn't let this humiliation stick. A little while later, outside the city walls, everything finally turns intense. Ray tells them they're about to dive into some hands-on field training to put Eve's abilities to the test. He spots a perfect clearing and decides this is the place, right here. First, he turns to the newly restored magic Eye of Flame and puts it to the test. He tells her to go all in. He and Lydiana can handle any stray flames, a fire department with zero doubt. Eve shuts her eyes tight and nods, agreeing to the test. Her left eye snaps open, blazing with a wild, overwhelming power. Ray leans in, eyes locked, and waits like she's about to witness something epic. A brutal burst of black flame rips out of the ground, instantly stunning them both. Lydiana can only freeze there, stunned as the sheer destructive power smashes everything in its path. She asks if Eve only went after the target, and Eve confirms she burned just that. Eve tells him the eye's got a hard limit, too much mana to use, and once it's gone, it's gone. Ray realizes that when she stacks her powers together, she doesn't just fight, she naturally becomes the perfect assassin. But her appraisal eye has a nasty catch. It demands a full 10 seconds of direct eye contact, and yeah, that's about as subtle as a bullhorn. Ray points out that if you lock eyes with someone for that long, you'll make sure they never forget you. He vows to teach her the fiery principles behind control. When they grilled her about her dark magic, she finally admitted she only had 2 spells in her pocket: sleep and paralysis. The moment it happens, Ray's curiosity explodes. He dares her to cast it on him, and the shock hits her like a punch. Lydiana shoots him a look so cold it could curdle milk, and he snaps, asking what the heck her problem is. She snaps, calling him a weirdo for daring to test dangerous magic on himself, and honestly, she's got a point. Eve crumples to the ground, pleading with him to reconsider. Anything, please. She warns that if either spell goes wrong, it could kill them both, no second chances. One tiny miscalculation could have shut his heart down for good. He snaps at her to stand up, but she flat out refuses. No way she's doing a test that could get her killed. So he whips out a knife and figures a little convincing by force is exactly what's needed. He tells her, if you give me that, I'll prove my own skills right back to you. The two of them square up, knives out, jaws set, ready to kick off a training session like nothing else. He orders her to come at him with one goal: kill him. Eve hesitates, still wrestling with whether this whole arrangement is even real. Lydiana shoots her a reassuring nod like, go all in, don't hold back. Her face tightens and a fierce new resolve locks in. She clenches the tiny blade until her grip is razor tight. With one last nod, she finally says yes and signs on to his terms. She shoots forward with a shocking burst of speed. Her blade slices through the air, hunting a deadly vital point. Ray's eyes squint tight, locking onto her every move like he's reading her next move before she makes it. He can tell she's done this 1,000 times, every move looks sharpened by years of brutal training. But her attack gets shrugged off like nothing. He spots a mistake in her footwork and snaps that she's got to redo it, right now. He effortlessly disarms her and shuts her down completely. The lesson ends the moment he pins her flat to the ground. He rises, finally locking in exactly what she can do. He admits she's got real potential, but he still clocks her every move as predictable. He throws up his hands and decides this world's fighting still isn't refined. It's rough, raw, and far from ready. Fighters don't beat you with tactics, they crush you with raw, overwhelming power. So he decides, all right, both of you are getting taught, and he starts right at the beginning with the basics of fire. Lydiana is barely holding it together as another science lecture drags in, and she's not happy about it. He kicks off the lesson by having Eve summon a tiny flame. He breaks down the secrets of combustion, piece by explosive piece, leaving his students totally stunned, like they couldn't even process what they just saw. Once the lesson ends for the day, the flames slowly fade away. Ray stared at his 2 totally different students and let his thoughts crash over him. Eve thinks everything through, while Lydiana dives in on pure instinct. He maps out a battle-ready training schedule for the days ahead. That night, the 2 women get ready to crash, stitching their day into silence as they prepare to sleep. But Eve looks on edge, like she's nervous about letting Ray take the first watch. Lydiana tells her, don't stress, rest is part of the training. Lydiana leans in and declares that Ray's chantless magic is something no one has ever heard of. Eve can only stare at the evidence and conclude, this power has to be straight from the goddess herself. But Lydiana lets it slip, he's only been grinding magic for a few short months. She's relaying every detail Ray just handed her. He's an otherworlder, reborn into this world after being ripped from a place where magic didn't exist. Eve's brain reels, trying to make sense of the bombshell she just heard. This is all hitting way too hard, there's no way I can take it all in at once. She feels like she doesn't deserve to teach someone this incredible. So she rockets to her feet and swears she'll take the first watch. Lydiana has to physically shut down her nonstop complaining about all that wasted effort. Ray feels like the whole situation is crashing in on him, almost too much to handle. A brand new day breaks over their training camp, like the universe is about to light the fuse. And the next lesson in assassination is about to begin. Eve's training is hitting way harder on her heart than she ever expected. Ray calls it quits, he's done with practice for today. Their first stop back in town, Eve's heading straight into a clothing store. But as Ray and the others near the city, he suddenly feels something lurking just up ahead. He nods and says the group is already waiting for them. 6 men set up camp right outside the city walls, ready for trouble. It's Sven and Roy, the A-rank adventurers, and they look absolutely furious. Sven leans in, demanding to know if Roy is 100% sure their targets are hiding in this forest. Roy confirms he's been tailing them for 3 straight days. He knows they'll have to haul themselves back to the city to catch that train. Sven clenched his teeth, still seething over the humiliation that just crushed him. Hiding in the trees, Ray and Lydiana catch the plot in the air, eliminate him and seize the women. Mage Roy is obsessed with learning Lydiana's one-of-a-kind magic, while his companions couldn't care less about anything academic. Roy shrugs and agrees to their disgusting plans. He's convinced that if he shatters their resolve, they'll fall into line and cooperate. Everyone's scrambling to claim who goes first. These are seriously real A-rank monsters. Roy scrapes at why they're even S-rank, but Sven just snorts and dismisses it. He shrugs it off and insists they didn't pull off anything, just got lucky when the stampede finally got stopped. He remembers that lightning blast and brushes it off as nothing more than a run-of-the-mill magic tool. To shut it down, he flashes a secret item he's been keeping locked away for this exact moment. A legendary artifact built to lock every trace of magic away forever. His men freeze in shock because they instantly recognize it as a forbidden item. Sven swaggered and bragged, saying that as a noble heir, getting something like that is basically effortless. But a creepy floating voice cuts in, saying he's about to take it. A mysterious figure steps into view with a cocky grin that screams, "I'm not here by accident." Sven stares at his hand, then freezes when it's suddenly completely empty. He panics, tearing through everything, desperate to find where his precious tool vanished to. From the trees, Ray snaps a quiet signal straight to Eva. Cold, laser-focused determination settled on her face. She summons the powers of darkness with a single command. Then he unleashed a brutal sleep spell that knocked the whole group out cold. Rank adventurers are suddenly blindsided, totally caught off guard. Their eyes jerk upward as the magic finally grabs them. And one by one, they crumple and hit the forest floor, gone. Lydiana scans the bodies and spots Sven, Roy, and the rest of their party, cold blue blood staining the ground. Ray can't stop himself, he snorts at that insanely pretentious name like it's a joke. Lydiana stared at their recklessness, then practically laughed like, "Seriously, is this really worthy of an A rank?" Eve leans in and tells you, "I used to work for the guild, I know their whole history." Sven's crew has a nasty habit of burying their mess with cold cash and big-name influence, every time. And Roy's reputation is built on running wildly unethical magical experiments. Lydiana couldn't stop staring at the guild's decision, demanding, "Why did you send us? Tell me this isn't some kind of setup." Even in a magical daze, Sven's eye keeps twitching like something's about to snap awake. Ray drops the truth like a warning, "This is the old-school play, shove your problem kids on a suicide mission." Lydiana snaps to it, if she kills them, she's handing everything over to someone's twisted plan. She fires off a question to Eve, "When's that spell gonna break?" But Eve just stares back, totally clueless. Ray gets it, how long it'll last is anyone's guess, but there's no way they're waking up anytime soon. Ray yanks out a dagger, eyes narrowing as he figures out what to do with the unconscious men. He lunges forward and the girls are left frozen, stunned into silence. He kicks things off by patching up the man's superficial wounds, sealing him up so he can fight on. And he spills his real plan, disable them for good. Lydiana admits it's brutal, but she insists it's still better than the alternative. Eve stands there completely stunned, he's using healing magic in the most creative way imaginable. Trash-handled, they turn around and rush back to the city. Their first stop is a local outfitter's shop. Ray stands there and waits stone steady, while the girls dive into the shops inside. Moments later, they burst back onto the scene wearing fresh matching gear. Ray can't quite hide his shock at what they're wearing. Eve told them she didn't want anything crazy, she just wanted to blend in and match the rest of the party. He tells her it fits her perfectly, and right then, like Lydiana wants, he pushes them to make the party official. But Eve can't shake the feeling that she doesn't deserve to step into an S-rank party. Ray shoots her a reminder that they've already gone over this, no more doubts. He tells her straight up, with a rank that low, this is the only route that lets her move freely. She finally gives in, and gratitude floods her eyes like a wave. So they sprint straight back to the Adventurers Guild. Jealousy practically sparks in the receptionist's eyes when she sees Eve slide in with them, pure, classic fangirl chaos. With their business wrapped up for the day, they finally pushed out of the city. They hustle straight toward the magic train station, racing against the clock. The train headed for the Dwarven Kingdom of Merged is about to blast off, right now. Ray's face hardens, he's locked in, ready to blast into the next leg of their journey. This brand new crew is geared up and ready to blast straight for Merged. Ray declares their 3-day trip is the perfect window to stack up even more magic lessons. Lydiana is not exactly jumping for joy at what's coming. She looks absolutely devastated, like she can't believe what she's seeing. But she knows one thing for sure, arguing with him is pointless. In just 3 days, they'll finally lay eyes on the Dwarven Kingdom and push one step closer to the biggest, ultimate prize they've been chasing. Meanwhile, back in the Oblivion Kingdom, a student sneaks up and peeks into a room. Yuko's eyes widen, she shouts her friend's name at full volume, and panic hits like an alarm. She snatches another student, yanking them in close, and demands they tell her what's really wrong. She asks, breathless, how Sword Saint Hibiki is holding up. The girl blurts out an apology, insisting her own wounds are nothing yet. Hibiki's eyes got badly smashed during the fight, and it was brutal to watch. The other heroes could only stare, stunned and worried, as everything unfolded. Yuko erupts in a storm of rage, swearing she'll never ever forgive him. She stomps over and kicks the bookshelf like rage has taken the wheel, and she can't rein it in. One of the others scrambles to dodge the topic, and it's a terrible move. She snaps into a rage and screams that their friend is dead. Her sudden outburst knocks everyone speechless. She whips around to her wounded friend and yells her name. She slumps against the bedside, grief crushing her in one brutal wave. She blurted out an apology and blamed herself, like she could have stopped everything if she'd only shown up sooner. Takashiro, their leader, can't shake the question, who in the world could have pulled this off? From the bed, Hibiki spits out one chilling word, Reincarnator. She's convinced their opponent is somehow from their world, like, probably Japanese. She remembers his fighting style, one of those ancient school techniques passed down like a secret weapon. Yuko spots that word in a book inside Hibiki's family home, and the meaning clicks instantly. Could this be the chilling self-hypnosis soldiers used to shove fear of death out of their minds? One of the heroes' jokes hits hard, like, what if a samurai got reincarnated and came back as someone new? Yuko's eyes go ice cold, she's about to hunt down the man who did it and end him. Hibiki stares into the aftermath, replaying the fight in her head and realizing she's seen techniques no one's ever shown her before. She can't stop wondering, does her own school of swordsmanship pull off moves like that too? Yuko leans in and asks, could this be a lost art from her family's past? Hibiki can't shake the feeling that her great-grandfather may have seen it, or even known all about it. She vividly remembers her family's old dojo master, like it happened yesterday. Yuko remembers watching him train, punching and sparring in a hidden mountain dojo, all alone in the silence. A young girl sprinting toward that very same place, chasing the past with every breath. A young girl slips into the doorway and peeks in, only to catch a brutal scene unfolding inside the dojo. Inside her great-grandfather's dojo, he squares up against a young student and goes toe-to-toe. The master is enjoying this fight way too much, like he can't get enough. He dares his student to dig past the surface and find the true essence of their art. With that knowing smirk, he shuts him down and steals his chance. He tells him it's still way too soon. And just like that, the match is over, decided in the blink of an eye. The young Suzuki lies there, completely shattered, sprawled on the floor like the fight just ripped the life out of him. The young Hibiki can do nothing but stand there silent, watching it all unfold. She finally realizes this brutal training is nothing like the lesson they sold her. She bolts out of the dojo and sprints like her life depends on it, disappearing deep into the forest. The fight replaying in her mind leaves her trembling with pure terror. In the present day, Yuko sits right beside Hibiki's bed, staring like she's afraid he'll disappear. She can't believe this story is even from Japan. But Hibiki steps in and confirms it, yeah, this is probably the truth. She leans in and reveals their family has a secret deadly art hidden in the blood. Takashiro's eyes widen as he realizes, his opponent isn't just skilled, they're a master of that exact art. Yuko's face tightens with dread as everything clicks into place. Habuki finally cracks and admits it. Back then, she thought she was untouchable, convinced she couldn't be beaten. She can't stop thinking, what if she'd swung her holy sword instead? And then, with a quiet bite of regret, he offers her a silent apology to her great-grandfather. Yuko storms out of the room, her thoughts spinning out of control. She glances over her shoulder, and it feels like her heart is breaking for her friend. She clenches her teeth, swearing she'll share every last drop of that pain. She stares into the void and realizes just how much power they've carved out in this new world. She slaughtered countless foes, but she never saw herself becoming the next target. But it's not just that, something even worse is starting to haunt her. She can't forget the glare in his eyes, the way they lifted as the fight raged. The chilling resolve of a man who's already accepted that death is coming, and he won't flinch. That realization rips through her and she crumples to the floor, shaking with pure terror. She replays that fight in her head, furious at herself for not finishing him when she had the chance. Takashiro swears that next time he'll be razor-sharp because he's done being careless. He swears he'll strike back and get revenge for his injured friend. All the other heroes can only stand there, staring, worried sick. On the train ride back, Rei leans in and asks Lidiana what's really bothering her. She admits there's been something seriously off for a long time now. He shoots her a question, asking if their destination has her worried. She flashes a smile and tries to sweep it all under the rug. But her smile slips and unease floods her eyes like she can't keep it bottled up anymore. She breaks out in relief, saying they finally pulled it off. This whole trip was about one thing, getting him his weapon, no excuses. Rei stares at her and instantly feels the storm brewing inside her. She leans in and asks the big question, will this journey with him really end the moment they reach their destination? He straight up admits this road is deadly, and he's been dragging her down like a weight she never asked for. He can't forget it, without her he would have died. His eyes light up with a brand new understanding that hits like a revelation. He looks at her and thinks she's stunning and unbreakable, and that sparks a fierce need to shield her with his life. And he finally blurts out the truth, he can't stand the thought of being apart from her. A single tear slips free from her eye. Beneath the glittering stars, their bond ignites into something far deeper than friendship. She blurted out his name and her voice shook with raw emotion. Tears pour down as they cling to each other, holding on like letting go would break them. A rare hush of peace washed over them as their long journey finally eased. That night, Lidiana can't sleep. She lies awake in her room staring into the dark. She shouts for Eve because Eve's awake too. She shoots off an apology for the racket because she knows Eve definitely heard it all. Lidiana stares at their new companion and instantly feels like she's found someone who truly gets her. She softly combs her fingers through the sleeping girl's hair, swearing she'll never be alone again. They show up at the exact address Lidiana pointed out. She swears this blacksmith is the best in the whole city. But the welcome they get, it's icy cold and way less than friendly. And then boom, he slams the door in their faces like good luck, customer service at its absolute finest. Lidiana finally admits the master blacksmith is a little bit of a handful. She shouts his name, Genma, calling out to him like it's the only thing that matters. The old dwarf hears her voice and instantly knows it's her. He's absolutely ecstatic to find her alive, and he even blurts out that he truly believed she was dead. He leans in and asks if she's here to get her rapier repaired. She tells them, I'm not just here to browse, I came to commission brand new weapons. The old master clearly hates that idea. He scoffs at the very idea of some amateur trying to forge a blade. He jabs a finger straight at Rei. Lidiana leaned in and bragged that no normal human could ever scratch, chip, or break her blade. And it's Rei who steps in and teaches her how to fight. He swears no doubt that Rei is way stronger than her. She's holding up the sword he used to cut down the heroes as evidence. Genma can't believe it, this blade is wrecked in a way that makes absolutely no sense. Rei finally breaks the silence, demanding to know, does he know a katana? That name just clanged in my head, like a whisper from a legendary hero who once saved the world. Rei just calmly says he knows exactly how to wield it. The old dwarf squints at him, sizing him up like it's a duel, and daring him to try. A wild, toothy grin bursts across his face like lightning. He decides to slam the kid's claim straight into the real world and see if it holds up. He yanks free a katana he forged with his own hands years ago, and flings it straight at Rei. Our boy drops into that familiar deadly stance. The master blacksmith watches in awe, clearly blown away by what he's seeing. But Rei snatches the weapon, frowns, and says it feels too light and stiff for how he fights. The critique drops in so brutally sharp that the master craftsman is left utterly baffled. He tells them his fighting style demands a blade with flawless weight and just the right give. A weapon that can bend without snapping, straight from the secrets of his homeland. The old dwarf locks eyes on him and grinds out, "So who are you, kid, really?" He insists on seeing every bit of their skill, Eve included, because he wants to measure them all one by one. So Ray and Lydiana kick off a full-on demonstration spar. Yenma and Eve huddle on the sidelines, staring with sharp, unwavering focus. Then it's Eve's turn. She steps up to face the master head-on. The old blacksmith's had it, he's seen enough to last a lifetime. He agrees to take the commission, no questions asked, and makes a special exception just for them. Ray and Eve finally exhale, because they just passed his brutal test. But before they can push him, he cuts in and says he's got other work that has to get finished first. Ray tells him the first katana felt unsettlingly light, like something was seriously off, and it's a savage jab from a guy who's literally asking for a favor. Genma snarls orders to his apprentice, "Bring him that one." The apprentice comes back clutching a blade even bigger and more intimidating than the last one. He slams the brand new weapon down on the table. This is a dead-on replica of the hero's sword from 200 years ago. Ray grabs it and a grin bursts across his face. This one's the perfect pick. Jen maddles the cheeky brat. He's trying to sweet-talk it out of you, saying he can borrow it for now. Once the deal is sealed, the crew packs up and heads out, leaving the celebration behind. An old dwarf plops down for a drink, grumbling under his breath about these weird new clients. He can't stop staring. Ray's perfectly trained body and that crushing, intense aura are impossible to ignore. And just like that, he instantly clocked every flaw in a blade only he could ever swing. He also notices just how insanely Lydiana has leveled up under Ray's training. He flashes a grin because he just realized their S-rank status isn't some joke, it's the real deal. This is the most wild, exciting job he's had in ages. Right then, another customer barges into his workshop. Genma leans in and says her order is basically done, it's just waiting on a few final tweaks. A cloaked woman leans in and asks, "Can I take it today?" He snatches another swig and tells her it'll be 2 more days. She spins to go, admitting there's nothing she can do about it. She vows she'll be back in just 2 days. With that, she grabs her companions and they blast out of the area. Yashioka Rina doesn't just hold her new sword, she steps forward and confirms its weight with total confidence. Yamamoto, Jessica's friend, is practically clawing at the door, desperate to get out of here. But the third Kadu, Takuma, is just thrilled to finally be out of Oblivion. Riina can't stop wondering if her other classmates are still trapped in those school uniforms. Jessica finds this thought absolutely hilarious. Later, the 3 of them dig into a hearty meal at a cozy local tavern. They dig into the meal and rave about how amazing it tastes, because this kind of luxury is something they've never had before. But just as they're digging into dinner, a rude, unwanted guest crashes the moment. The local tough guy steps up to the rich kids and spits out, "You don't belong here." The 3 heroes shot each other furious looks, completely fed up with the disruption. His buddy yanks him out of the mess and keeps apologizing over and over for the drunken chaos he just caused. But Jessica rages that the vibe is already totally ruined. Renan nods and tells him, straight to his face, to learn some manners. Rage explodes in the man's chest as his friend tries to pull him back and warn him off. But Jessica just smiles like she's daring him to make a move. Later, in a shadowy alley, the showdown grinds on, even darker than before. The man brushes off his friend's warnings and roars at the top of his lungs that those kids are finally going to learn a lesson. Jessica can't wait to offer one, moving right in with a terrifying punch behind it. That punch hurls him into the air, and the fight is over before it even really starts. She smirks like cute, totally unmoved by his bravado. His companions can only freeze, staring at the horror in total terror. Renat rockets in with blinding speed, and before they can react, she wipes out the other 2. She stares down at them with a ruthless, icy gaze that makes your blood run cold. The last man standing surges forward and tries to bolt before it all catches up to him. Bakatu the mage refused to let it end there. He snapped his hands together and hurled an ice pillar spell. He slams the fleeing man into a prison made of solid ice, trapping him with nowhere left to run. The man stuck in place, his getaway was snuffed out for good. Jessica and Renat gawk in awe at how wild their friend's power is. The ice explodes into shards as the final thug goes down for good. The 3 heroes throw their arms up, celebrating their hard-won little triumph like they just scored the biggest win of their lives. They both agree this brand new world is way more thrilling than anything they've ever seen. Right then, a streetside commotion erupts and grabs their attention like a punch to the chest. The local blasts the news. The magic battle axe core is back, ready to strike again. The three heroes lean in, eyes locked, totally hooked. And decides to track down where that noise is coming from. A line of heavily armed dwarves stomps through the city, marching like a war drum given legs. Up on a balcony, Ray and his crew lean over the edge and watch the parade roll by below. Lydiana leans in and reveals that Mergid's elite monster hunters are his own special unit, his top-tier monster-slaying crew. Eve says it's so wildly powerful that the local adventurers guild might as well be extinct. Right then, a brand new voice suddenly blares out and calls to them. Mage Katu strides up to their table and flashes a warm, friendly wave. He tells them, "I spotted you from the street and I just couldn't help myself, I had to say hello." He fumbles through a painfully awkward flirt with Lydiana. Lydiana, let's just say her patience is gone and her disappointment is loud. But his eyes narrowed to a blade's edge, and he recognized them in a heartbeat, Japanese heroes. The heroes suddenly realized this had to be the exploration team they'd been hunting for. Katu barrels past the cold shoulder, snapping back that she needs to get lost. Then he steps forward with swagger and proudly declares himself the hero. That word hits the room, and suddenly Lydiana's nerves light up like a warning flare. Eve can only stare, feeling the tension surge higher and higher. Katu steps in and tells everyone to drop the beef and finally get along. And he reaches out to grab Lydiana's shoulder, because of course he makes the worst possible choice. Then a flash of steel erupts, and it stops him dead in his tracks. Ray snaps a knife into the table and pins the hero's hand there. His companions just stand there, mouths open, totally unable to believe what they're seeing. Utur gasps in agony, crying out in pure shock. Ray's stare turns to pure ice as he warns through clenched teeth, "Don't you dare touch my woman." Out of nowhere, the city guard storms in and surrounds their table. The guard captain snorts at their S-rank brag like it's nothing. He snaps at them to stay dead silent in their cell and wait for the verdict. Eve clenched her teeth and let raw frustration spill out in burning silence. She flat out refuses to let her new friends sit trapped in here like prisoners. Meanwhile, Ray is cringing so hard at his own outburst that it hurts to watch. He can't believe he just called her my woman, and the way it slipped out feels totally out of character. Lydiana, though, she's absolutely eating this up. She clings to him and whispers, "Just stay like this a little longer." Across the city, the heroes are regrouping, slamming together like a war band before the next strike. Katu clutches his hand, still shaking from the pain. Jessica warns them that their new opponent is no joke, seriously dangerous. Reina shuts Katu down cold, reattaching his hand is never happening. Guard screams at Ray, furious that his commotion spiraled out of control. Katu's hand shook with pure white-hot fury. He swears he'll make sure this doesn't go unpunished. But the guard captain, he's got a totally different opinion, and you can feel it the second he speaks. He rips into his subordinate, furious that they picked on S-rank adventurers. And just like that, the party bursts out of their cell, free at last. Ray flashes the guards a smug little wave as he struts right out. After a while, they stride right through the city streets, soaking in every step. Ray knows they can't waste a second waiting for custom weapons anymore. Their current gear just isn't going to cut it against what's coming, more heroes. Lydiana nods in full agreement and pushes them to track Genma down for help. They storm back into the familiar workshop, like they've just come home for round 2. The grumpy old blacksmith is already fuming before the sun even rises when they show up. Lydiana blurts out that everything has changed right now. Genma's face snapped serious, like he just sensed the danger closing in. She drops the bomb. Their enemies are already in this very city watching from the shadows. The old dwarf clamps down on his mug even harder. He demands answers, digging for every single thing they know about their opponents. Ray lays it out, their so-called heroes are actually the enemy. Genma freezes in shock, blinking hard like, did I lose my mind or what? He's heard the legends of heroes so powerful they feel unreal. But Ray calmly says he's already taken out 4 of them. He tells them straight up, this fresh batch is nothing like those wild legends. Lydiana snaps that they stole her sister's life, and came so close to ending hers too. She's adamant, no way are they letting these monsters run wild through the city. The old blacksmith drags his fingers through his beard, chewing on the grim news like it's a curse. He snaps into action, makes his call, and orders them to follow him. He rips open a secret trapdoor hidden beneath the floor of his workshop. As he guided them down into a hidden room beneath the world above. It's a secret armory packed wall-to-wall with his absolute best creations. He straight up admits he's dying to test his blades, watching to see if they can actually stand up to a hero. And the girls are more than thrilled to take the offer. Eve spots a fire-enchanted dagger and can't look away. while Lydiana hunts down her very own new blade. Genma leans in and asks if Rei needs anything, but Rei just shrugs. He's totally fine being the lone wolf. Blacksmith leans in and demands to know, did he really ever lay eyes on a hero's holy sword? Rei flashes back to his showdown with the Sword Saint, and somehow her blade doesn't impress him one bit. He finally understood, winning meant staring death straight in the face and refusing to flinch. He admits he barely got out alive, only to walk away with a severed arm. A single fact knocks the old dwarf dead silent. He actually reattached it. The more he digs into this kid's story, the more hooked he gets. Gen Maddle is about to jump in with him for a quick moment. He hustles him out of the workshop, slipping through a secret back entrance. Into a tiny room sits a single ornate box, waiting like a secret about to explode. The old blacksmith snaps the lid open with a dramatic flourish. Eyes shot wide open the moment they saw what was inside. The demon blade got merged and forged into existence 200 years ago, back when legends were still being hammered into steel. Forged from a black dragon's core in the finest orichalcum. Rei tells them that this blade has been asleep for centuries, never used not once. Genma demands to know if he can really figure it out just by looking at it. People call it the cursed sword, say that out loud, and you've instantly got a conversation that turns into a warning. Rei admits his master owns a ton of blades, but none of them pack power like this one. Genma tells them it didn't just unhinge the people who used it, it could drive them mad or worse. He casually leans in and asks Rei if he wants to give it a shot. He swears it's just a joke, but deep down he can't shake the feeling that Rei might be something totally different. Rei says nothing, then he pulls out the legendary weapon like it's been waiting for this moment. His eyes blaze back from the polished, deadly steel. He grips the katana tight, and its power suddenly answers to him. He clocks that the ominous aura has disappeared, and warns it not to get comfy because it's not sticking around. Genma freezes in shock, staring like, wait, do you feel anything at all? Rei grins and says the weight and length feel spot on, then straight up challenges the rumors flying around. He asks to borrow it and Genma just instantly says, sure, no questions asked. The old dwarf leans in and fires a straight-up question, so, are you from another world? Rei's silence is the only confirmation he ever needs. Genma snaps into it, this all makes sense now, and he blurts out, so Rei, is he a hero too? Rei shot back, no way, I'm just another worlder and I've got my own agenda. Genma tells him to keep it down, and Rei treats that request like it's the law. As everything finally clicked into place, Genma drops a bombshell, he's got one more thing to show him. Rei watches and his curiosity spikes like it's about to blow. His eyes snap wide with pure total disbelief. Inside, they spot an M9 Team 11's pistol ticking like a relic from his own world. Timeless firearm, an absolute legend all its own. Rei tells you this place got brought here a whopping 200 years ago by another hero. Genma finally admits they're still scrambling to recreate the ammunition. Rei studies the weapon and freezes, because the timelines don't line up at all. He realizes it was sealed in a time stasis box, frozen in perfect condition. Genma leans in and demands his expert take on their tiny replication problem. Rei fires up the room, saying even in his world, this gun is a brand new marvel. Trying to replicate it is like tossing yourself from an axe straight into a magic sword. He grabs the weapon and instantly feels firsthand just how complex it really is. When it hits, an idea starts sparking in his head. Genma blurts, what are you thinking, right out of nowhere. Rei shoots a bold question, can he have the gun? That old dwarf stares at him with eyes so unreadable, you can't even guess what's coming next. He flat out refuses, insisting it's their only option and that the ammo is still in development. Rei isn't even shocked, he saw this coming. Genma erupts in laughter, then tells him, yeah, you can have it once I'm dead. Girls come back grinning, buzzing with the power of their brand new weapons. The party throws their gratitude at the old blacksmith, thanking him for everything he's done. With one last wild wave, Genma thrusts them forward and sends them on their way. 2 days later, the cloaked hero Renab bursts back into the workshop. Genma hands her a brand new sword, then tells her, go on, test it. Dark energy surges through the blade as she pours her mana into it. The blacksmith's jaw drops, he can't believe what he's seeing, and he asks, is this your first magic sword? She flashes a grin, declares it a masterpiece, then admits, quietly but clearly, that it's a little too overpriced. Genma's face instantly hardens, there's no way he's got time for haggling. He and his apprentices close in on her, barking for payment. But Renal looks them dead in the eye, totally unshaken by their intimidation. She demands to know if they're the ones trying to pull a fast one. She lifts her brand new blade high, and a dark grin spreads across her face. One of the apprentices is suddenly swallowed by a dark, shadowy aura. Riina declares with total confidence that this weapon is made for a hero like her. Then boom, her two companions show up and their faces look downright lethal. Genma's eyes go wide with terror the moment he clicks. Those aren't strangers, they're them. A shockingly loud cry of fire tears through the shop. The whole workshop erupts into raging flames out of nowhere. From far away, Ray and his crew spot the smoke billowing in the air and the chaos erupting all around. Ray shoots his hand up and yells for everyone to stand back. He unleashes a monstrous torrent of water like it's about to drown the whole world, snuffing the flames in the blink of an eye. In the smoldering ruins, the party snaps into action and surveys every last bit of damage. Eve snapped her head up, rattled to the core but somehow totally unscathed. Her eyes brim with worry, fixed on their fallen friend. But it's already over for the master blacksmith Genma. He lifts his eyes, ice cold, and studies the whole scene like it's ready to crack. He spots the wounds are from a rapier, same style he knows all too well. A battered surviving apprentice narrows his eyes at them, and suspicion drips off every word. He shouts Ray's name and his voice shakes like it's about to crack. He leans in and demands, "Tell me, was Ray one of the master's disciples?" The young dwarf stands there, ringed by his fallen comrades. Ray demands he tell what went down right here. The apprentice suddenly remembers the moment a customer walked in. The cloaked woman exploded over the price. He tells you they tried to teach her a lesson, and it turns into a terrible, explosive mistake. She dropped his brothers in one brutal move, and her crew closed in together and jumped the master. He points out the attackers, 3 humans total and 2 of them rock jet black hair. He lifts his gaze, eyes narrowing. He knows the exact kind of trouble standing there, heroes. His thoughts snap to the box Genma showed him. He claws his way out of the wreckage and you can tell, right there, exactly why he's come. He orders the apprentice to clean up the mess and deal with what comes next. He digs up the box and it starts to echo Genma's words. A promise, once that old dwarf was gone, he'd finally get his hands on it. He snatches the gun from the shadows, cold, grim inheritance in his hands, and swears he'll unleash vengeance for his fallen friend. From a nearby rooftop, the party locks onto their targets like they're about to pounce. The heroes whip around, panicking now that their prey has finally shown up. What do they do next? Kadu's face contorts with fury as he screams that he'll kill every last one of them. But Rina snaps at him, "Don't be an idiot, this isn't the place to throw down." She urges them to trail after them and hit back in a quieter, more secluded place. Ray's crew swings around and strides off, and their pursuers get yanked along right behind them. They burst through the city gates, and the heroes stay right on their heels. Rina releases a tracking orb, and it instantly clocks that their targets are hauling ass. Jessica flashes a smug grin, eyes locked on the prize, ready to launch the hunt. The heroes launch into a full-on chase, fighting over who's allowed to be the one to end the other. A deadly volley of throwing knives slices through the air like thunder, screaming straight toward its target. Ray's crew sprints through the streets, feeling the heat of their pursuers closing in fast. He snaps to it, "We're finding the perfect spot to make our stand no matter what." But his eyes bulge with shock, and he instantly feels an attack about to hit. He roars for Lydiana and Eve to scramble back right now. A violent burst of ice rips up from the ground, exploding everywhere in an instant. The blast slams the world into ice, trees freeze solid, then explode into sharp splinters. Kadu the mage finally caught up to them. Ray and Lydiana spring backward and twist aside at the last second, barely escaping the icy barrage. He's blown away by the spell's insane range. He hurls up a barrier at the last second, just in time to slam the attack out of the way. The heroes burst onto the scene, and Kadu taunts them while his defensive magic cranks up. Lydiana and Eve rush in to lock horns with the other 2 heroes. Rina smirks, clearly thrilled they could keep up with her blazing speed. Ray and Lydiana freeze in shock at just how insanely fast she moves. Ray snaps forward and closes the distance in the blink of an eye. Rina looks straight at the freezing air like it's her playground, and you can't help but wonder how she's still moving at all. Lydiana finally clocks the weapon in her grip, a sharp rapier right there in her hand. Those apprentice words slam into her mind. Genma got cut down by a rapier. Rina smirks and admits that the old man still managed to put up a damn good fight. Ray and Lydiana lock eyes as she taunts him, calling him the perfect test for her brand new blade. Lydiana's fury erupts. She points at the woman and screams that she's already marked, destined for Lydiana to kill. Ray and Eve are stuck staring, while Liliana's rage swallows everything. Right then, the third hero, Jessica, surges forward onto the scene. She declares that the blue-haired girl, Eve, is officially her opponent. Eve's eyes turn ice cold, she's all set to throw down. Ray shouts her name, but she's already gone, moving before the sound even lands. He's got his own mess to sort out, and it's not waiting. At last, Kadu the mage finally stands face to face with the one he's hunting. He smirks because now it's finally time to settle the score for that missing hand. He blasts out yet another huge ice pillar spell. But Ray is already on the move. He dodges the attack with effortless speed like it can't even touch him. Kadu raises his hand, and a pack of wolves made of solid ice snarls into existence. Ray's brand new blade slices straight through them like they're nothing at all. The hero only smirks, dead certain Ray's trapped and can't slip away. He blasts a storm of razor-sharp ice shards through the air. Ray clenched his teeth, and the brutal cold started creeping into his bones. He feels the temperature plummet to something straight up impossible. He knows this is only the warm-up, something way bigger is coming. Kadu slams into a blinding chant, commanding the world to stop dead in its tracks. And blasts his ultimate spell, **absolute zero. Ray gets swallowed by the blast, and it looks like he's been turned to stone in an instant. The ice explodes into shards, but there's still not a single trace of him. Lidiana gapes at the wreckage, and her breath snags in her throat. She sobs out his name, like everything inside her just shattered. Reina smirks and asks, already looking away. She leans in and asks if Lidiana is truly that terrified for him. She flat out says she won't let herself hurt him too badly. Come on, no one pays big for a corpse and you're calling that a hero. Lidiana's rage sparks to life as she summons the wind with a fierce shout. She slings an acceleration spell and rockets forward in the blink of an eye. But Rina blocks everything effortlessly, laughing at how pathetic her speed is. Lidiana clenched her teeth, getting shoved back by the hero's relentless speed. She drags herself to the very edge of exhaustion, pushing past every last ounce of strength. But Rina moves like nothing even touches her. The hero flashes a smug smirk and snaps that her efforts are totally useless. Lidiana gasps as a crisp clean hit slams in. Reina is totally toying with her, loving every second of this one-sided beatdown. Lidiana's sword gets blasted right out of her grip and rockets through the air. But she remembers Ray, and that trust in him ignites her strength again. Her eyes snap open, and with them comes an unshakable, burning resolve. Her focus hardens to stone, every trace of fear is gone. Rina just sits there, smirking as his mood flips in a snap. Lidiana cracks down on herself, demanding even faster speeds than before. Something inside her snaps in half, then a brand new level of power erupts. She shouts to the spirits of lightning, begging them to lend her their power. And they swarm around her, blasting her with a torrent of raw energy. Her eyes ignite with the storm's fury, glowing like they're about to explode. She blasts out her brand new technique, wind lightning acceleration. Rina's face finally snaps into full-on shock. Two warriors slam into each other, every strike lands at the same lightning-fast speed. The hero finally gets it, this isn't some game anymore, it's a fight to the death and there's no backing out. Lidiana launches the assault, bursting forward with a wild whirlwind of strikes. Reina's jaw drops as Lidiana blurs into an afterimage, fast enough that her eyes can't even follow. Then boom, a perfectly clean hit slams into the hero's back. Reina's grip on her rapier starts to slip, and panic creeps in fast. She whips her head around in total disbelief, her flawless streak is suddenly wrecked. Lidiana stands her ground, but the strain of her new power crushes her, blood pours from her eyes as she fights through it. Reina stumbles backward, her mind screaming, does Lidiana really have the nerve to die right here? She scoffs instantly, like the whole idea is pure nonsense. But Lidiana has made her point, then she snaps into action and starts casting a teleportation spell. She disappears in a burst of blinding light and the battered hero is left staggering there, alone. Rina can only gawk in shock as her opponent disappears into thin air right before her eyes. Meanwhile, Eve isn't getting the slightest bit of fun in her own fight. Jessica's brawling has her totally swamped and fighting for breath. The hero needles her, daring her like, go on, try to fight back. Eve grits her teeth, her body dragged to the very edge of its limit. Jessica snaps in another spotless hit, and you can tell she's loving every second of it. She laughs at Eve's weak defense, then taunts her to stay sharp and keep her guard up. The beatdown keeps raining down, merciless, non-stop, and one-sided. Eve's eyes sharpen with a dangerous focus, and she summons the power of darkness. She begs for the power to finally shut down her opponent's every move. And then he detonates a crushing paralysis spell that traps everything in place. But Jessica just smirks, totally unbothered, like it doesn't even touch her. She yanks off her gauntlets and boom, there's no magic inside at all, just more proof these are being sold left and right. Eve realizes her trump card is utterly worthless. Jessica scoffs hard because she can't stand the fact that this girl is trying to cast a spell right up close. She surges in, determined to end the fight for good. But Eve spots it, one razor-thin moment to flip the whole game. She pulls out a move Ray taught her, and it hits like a spark, unleashing her own wild waterflow dance. Jessica has no time to brace. This sudden counterattack slams into her out of nowhere. Ray's voice keeps ringing in her head, coaching her on how to take down someone far stronger. You've gotta find a way to slam through the gap and close the distance. Then watch their every move and read what they're about to do next. She flashes back to everything he drilled into her about the body's vital points and human anatomy. She hits a nerve cluster right behind the elbow. Then came a devastating strike right to the inner thigh, and caught her opponent completely off guard. She drops a brutal blow straight into his liver. Jessica clenched her teeth hard, fighting through the scorching agony. Eve shoves her back hard, and just like that, the momentum of the fight snaps into her favor. Blood splatters from the hero's mouth, and the brutal internal damage finally catches up to him. She crumples to the ground, utterly defeated. But she yanks out a tiny vial, betting everything on a last-ditch miracle. Eve's eyes harden, and she refuses to drop her guard. Jessica chugs the super potion in one breath. She hurls the empty vial to the ground and snarls curses at her opponent. A hot cloud of vapor bursts from her lips, hanging in the air like a secret. She's seething that they wasted something that costly. Guess hero healthcare really isn't free. Eve locks eyes with ice in her stare, and you can tell she's about to end this right now. Her magic eye of flame snaps to life, blazing with raw, unstoppable power. Then a roaring torrent of black fire blasts straight at the hero. Ray's voice keeps echoing inside her head, hammering home her final lesson. Eve's face hardens, and you can tell, after all that chaos, it's finally over. Her opponent gets swallowed whole as the flames surge up and consume every last inch. She spins away from the chaos, satisfied her job is finally done. Kadu's jaw drops as his companion collapses in front of him, pure shock shaking through him. He shouts to Rina, demanding to know what's wrong. She clamps her arm to her side, and you can tell she's badly hurt. Rage burns in her eyes as she storms forward, demanding to know where the elixir is. He tells her to stop hesitating and just use it already. She snaps back, grinning, "Yeah, if I had one, I'd do it, no doubt." The two heroes start snapping at each other, each one throwing blame like it'll fix what went wrong. Kadu swears he handled his own target himself. He whips his head back and stares at the icy prison he forged, realizing, oh no, it wasn't some dumb little ice clone at all. Just then, that voice he knew by heart cuts in from right behind him. Ray just stands there completely unshaken, absolute zero can't touch her. Rina gets blindsided from behind by a brutal, sudden attack. Kadu can only sit there helpless as Lydiana looms over her. Lydiana lets out a sharp cry, and the fight's toll finally slams into her. Ray just stares, and his face gives away absolutely nothing. Kadu gapes in pure disbelief, still trying to figure out how he even made it out of that ice. He finally clocks it. Ray must have used some kind of teleportation to pull this off. He glances at Rina's fallen body, and his confidence crumbles into dust. Ray starts talking with deadly calm, and his voice hits like cold steel. He leans in and tells Kudu, "I'll answer every single one of your questions later. But first, he's got a message ready for the fallen hero, Rina." He tells her, "Go apologize to Genma in the afterlife," and the words hit like a final blow. Rina's smug grin snaps away the second a gun bites down against her head. A thunderous blast rips through the forest, loud enough to shake your bones. Kadu can only stare in pure bone-chilling horror. He whips around, and terror crashes over his face like a wave. Ray lunges in and lands a swift, crippling strike that shuts everything down. He pins the last hero to the ground like it's nothing. He raises the magic sealing artifact he swiped earlier like it's the key to everything. They mock the hero for leaning on such a perfectly convenient tool. Once his magic is gone, the hero isn't a warrior anymore. He's just a terrified kid frozen in fear. Elsewhere, Jessica's body is sprawled on the ground, silent, unmoving, and somehow terrifyingly lifeless. But she's still breathing, yet her life is slipping away fast. Her thoughts scream one desperate plea: don't let me die. She remembers the secret power she's never dared to tell a single soul about. A power that terrifies her, because the moment she releases it, everything could change. Her hand starts twitching, then twists into a horrifying, unnatural shape. Dark, monstrous power swallows her entire body. Her shape starts to twist and swell into something brand new. She morphs into a colossal, beast-like monster, and trust me, this isn't even the last form she's got up her sleeve. Eve whipped around, feeling that sudden blast of power hit the air like thunder. She screams Ray's name, spotting a brand new threat closing in. Ray whips around, utterly stunned by the horrifying transformation. He and Eve just freeze, staring in horror as the new beast lets out a savage roar. Kadu can only freeze there, staring in shock as she realizes she somehow turned into a colossal monster. B smashes its fist down like a hammer, and Ray and Eve instantly spring back on reflex. He crashes down with Lydiana locked in his arms, and the monster's shadow stretches over them like a doom cloud. Jessica, fully shifted into her beast form, rips the air apart with a savage, furious roar. Ray realizes this whole situation just snapped from bad to absolutely worse. The monsters scream tears through the wrecked forest, echoing like a nightmare that won't quit. He blasts her into the sky with flight magic and whisks Lydiana to safety. He slams onto the cliff and freezes, staring at the wrecking force like it's impossible. Eve shouts up from below, calling out that she's totally okay. He tells her, "Hold the fort and keep an eye on Lydiana while I take care of this." He whips around to face the beast, shouting that he's its new opponent right now. Then he rockets off the cliff, drops hard into the scene and faces the new threat head-on. Cold focus locked onto his face, steady and unshakable. He's replaying Eve's report in his head, and one thought hits like a hammer: Jessica was supposed to be fatally wounded. He knows this has to end for good, and he's already got the perfect spell lined up. He's about to unleash his full, no-holds-barred power, and slams a massive bolt of lightning down from the heavens. The monster's back blasts into smoke after taking that direct hit. Ray can't believe her eyes. It's still standing, and that means this is no ordinary spell. That's a dragon killer spell. His eyes squint tight, and he realizes the wound is already stitching itself closed. Steam curls through the air as the flesh knits itself back together, stitch by brutal stitch. Regeneration is blasting through at a speed nobody should ever survive. He can't even wrap his head around it. The healing factor is unreal, pure nightmare-level power. The beast roars again, and every single wound is gone like it never happened. Ray realizes the ship isn't done yet. It's gearing up to unleash another terrifyingly powerful attack. He clenches his teeth, boiling with frustration. Meanwhile, Kato crouches behind a tree, trembling with pure terror. He glares at his former ally and screams that he's a monster, then bolts, because that escape is the smartest move he's made all day. But the beast's gaze snaps onto the fleeing hero and won't let go. It whips him aside like he's nothing but an annoying little bug. The last hero gets blasted into the air, shredding the silence with a terrified scream. The beast jerks its gaze back to its true target. Ray leans in and tells Eve, "This is it, your shot to escape." He snaps at her to fall back fast, right when the monster's eyes are still on him. The beast bursts through the forest like a wrecking ball, smashing everything in its way and tearing up the land behind it. Meanwhile, from atop the city walls, a dwarven commander spots the terrifying new threat charging toward them. He's told a mystery monster has just slipped into cannon range. He barks the command to fire instantly, no second thoughts, no pause. Cannons roar to life and unleash a brutal volley of fire. The shells hit dead on, then the beast disappears under a roaring cloud of smoke. But yeah, it's totally unfazed by the attack, like it didn't even register. Commander snarls as he peers through his binoculars, cursing under his breath. He can feel it, this thing is only moments away from crashing into the city. Right then, a messenger bursts in with a command straight from the magic battle-axe core. Commander looked totally blindsided by that sudden order. The elite dwarven unit is already charging into the next fight. They snap into formation, bracing themselves to charge the monster head-on. The fire squad surges to the front of the formation, ready to burn a path forward. They slam down a binding spell, targeting the beast's legs to trap it in place. Magic snaps around his ankle, clean, ruthless, and perfectly on target. But the dwarves are absolutely stunned. This thing doesn't even leave a single scratch. Their leader barks an order: hold the line, then push forward, no stopping. The beast snarls and readies its own brutal counterattack, and slams a single swipe through him, launching one of the dwarves flying like a blur. The other soldiers are left frozen in terror, watching it all unfold in horror. Their commander roars at them to keep moving, "Don't you dare stop." The beast's fist slams down like a wrecking ball, shaking everything in its path. A soldier stares at the battlefield and realizes there's no way he can win this fight. Commander snaps at them for trying to bolt, accusing them of sacrificing their pride. The colossal beast towers over a lone dwarf, closing in like it's about to finish him for good. Then a brutal surge of energy detonates from the city walls, shaking everything in its path. A brutal explosion blasts through the whole area, shaking everything to the core. The shockwave hits so hard, you can feel it for miles. With this brand new threat tearing through the city, everyone has one choice left: panic hard. The towering monster hangs over the battlefield like pure disaster, an unstoppable force of nature. Ray and Eve can only stand there and stare as the chaos erupts miles away out of reach. In the capital, the Dwarven Council goes silent because that creature's power hits them like a tidal wave. They barked orders to unleash the magic cannons and to get every citizen out, no hesitation. But one elder Yuma, the woman, stays icy calm while everyone else is spiraling. A calm, sharp curiosity flickers across her face like she's already plotting the next move. The moment she bolts up to leave, the others instantly grill her with questions. She calmly tells everyone, "I'm going to meet the guest," like it's already set in stone. She and her attendant slip through a secret passageway, vanishing from sight as they move deeper in. He charged into the heart of the city, right up to a door so heavily fortified it looked impossible to break. She flashes a smile on the other side and tells them, "It's been way too long." It's Ray sprinting with an exhausted, bloodied Lydiana in his arms. Lydiana staggers up and in a shaky voice begs Granny Yuma for help. Ray tells her, "Don't strain yourself, leave it to me." He says he's heard she's the city's top defender, and now he's begging for her cooperation. He's begging her to do something, because a giant ape is wrecking the city right now. The old woman's eyes snap to him like a blade, sizing him up in one cold look. Ray breaks down the monster's insane healing factor, and admits his own magic still couldn't cut it. He throws a hand toward his crew and tells them loud and clear they're too battered to keep fighting. He has to catch his breath, refill his mana, and make sure his friends are safe before anything else happens. Yuma leans in and demands, "So tell me, do you really have a plan to take down that creature?" He nods and admits, "Yeah, I'll do it, only if you let me cast that specific spell." The old woman studies his desperate plea like she's weighing his fate in her hands. She stares at that legendary demon blade Genma handed to him. He raises a fancy, ornate key, demanding a favor in return. Her attendant stares in disbelief, and Yuma snaps back that they're going to use every tool they've got. Her attendant drags a huge, ornate chest right up in front of them. Yuma slips the key she offered in, and the lock clicks open. The lid pops open and the contents spill out, leaving the Ray staring in stunned disbelief. His eyes blow wide as he senses the sheer, overwhelming power roaring inside. Inside, a dark robe waits beside a staff, crafted from the very same black dragon as his brand new blade. Eve's face twists into sudden, dawning horror. She knows those legendary items like the back of her hand. She shoots her hand out, desperately trying to stop him, begging Ray, saying those artifacts are way too dangerous to touch. That robe drinks in life force and turns it into mana, and that staff cranks up his mental power to max. This is the ultimate power-up, no joke. But she slams the warning, one single use could tip you into death or madness. Ray listens, his resolve doesn't even flicker. Yuma grinned, suddenly certain Eve's got an appraisal power. She nods and accepts the girl's warning, and the whole nation is placing their hopes on him. She demands to know, straight up, if his plan is really worth gambling everything on one massive leap. Her attendant realizes they've got no choice. If even one more hero steps in and the monster gets reinforcements, everything goes down. Ray finally cracks it. He isn't doing this for their country at all, he's chasing something only he knows. Yuma nods and accepts it, finally seeing his honesty as the one thing he can trust. She steps forward, all seriousness and confidence, and formally declares herself the leader of Merged, and makes an official request, demanding he unleash their secret weapons to save the kingdom. Eve can only stare, watching tears pour down her face like her heart is cracking in real time. Ray just smirks at her like, "Don't worry, you're fine." He slips on the robe and grips the staff like it's about to change everything. Now he's fully geared up, ready to take on the monster waiting just outside. He swears to Lydiana, still sobbing, that when he comes back he'll heal every wound. He leans in, demanding Yuma look after his companion. An old woman leans in and asks him straight up, "So you're one of those legendary heroes, huh?" He just blurts out, "I've got one more favor to ask you, please." Meanwhile, Jessica's beast form snarls over the city walls. Dwarven soldiers brace their magic cannons and ready for the next devastating volley. Dwarven commander roars the command, "Fire." Cannons roar again, and another volley slams straight into the beast's face. The soldiers erupt into cheers, convinced they've finally started hitting back for real. Commander snaps an order, everyone reloads now for the next shot. But the monster only roars back, totally unshaken, like your attack bounced off nothing. It slams straight through the city's defenses with one brutal blow. From a safe distance, the party gapes as total chaos erupts right in front of them. The Dwarven Council can only gape in disbelief, stunned, speechless. Ray explains that the second a sniper's location is exposed, their shots might as well be useless. The council leader can barely squeeze out anything, just Yuma's name over and over like a curse he can't swallow. Right as Rei bursts out of the tunnel, a guard stops her dead and demands to know who this human really is. But our boy just stands there and his brand new power blasts the air around him. The guard's eyes went wide as the legendary artifacts finally clicked in his mind. Yuma just grins, nodding like, "Yep, that's exactly what we're seeing." Rei shuts the rumors down and makes it crystal clear, he's not doing this for their kingdom. Yuma leans toward the council and blurts out, "I've got one last request before this ends." The other members just stare, utterly stunned and lost for words. Rei declares, "I'm ending that monster right now. But if he's gone for good, they have to swear they'll protect his companions." The council members lock eyes, weighing his words like they're about to spark war. The leader leans in and asks, "Is that really all you want?" Rei admits there's nothing else on his mind, just a plain, no-nonsense kind of man with simple, deadly obsessions. The leader makes his move and trusts the man who's got zero greed in his heart. He swears on the names of the 7 houses, vowing with everything he's got to keep the deal. Rei gives them a small nod, trusting them with his request. He whips around and declares, "All right, time to get going." The council can do nothing but stare as he strides straight toward the battlefield. One of them leans in and demands to know if he's really wearing the legendary cursed items. Yuma's attendant straight up confirms it and says Eve tried to stop him in his tracks. These aren't just weapons, they're so lethal that even the legendary heroes of the past couldn't get their hands on them. Rei snatches up the cursed artifacts on the spot, no hesitation, no fear, just pure instinct. The council is dead sure, if he can't stop that monster, their kingdom is finished. They're gutted that their whole fate has to be handed to some total stranger. Yuma cuts in and tells them, "Forget the rest, focus on what you can do right now," as he relays Rei's plan. Beneath a cold, pale moon, the final battle is about to explode. The dwarf commander roars at the front line, rallying his troops and driving them to fight. He stares at the new orders and disbelief hits his face like a punch. "We keep it simple." Rei readies his move and we yank the beast's attention long enough for his attack to land. The commander crunches the insane strategy, turning chaos into a plan. His men have one choice left, put their faith in this stranger or everything falls apart. He barks orders to every ranged unit, pin that monster right where it stands. The beast bellows like thunder, braced for the next wave of attackers to crash in. It swats those dwarven soldiers aside like they're nothing. But their assault never lets up, round after round of blazing fire keeps crashing down. The more they strike, the more the monster looks pissed off, not even hurt. It keeps creeping forward, slow, stubborn, and impossible to stop. But it snaps to attention, sensing a fresh power roaring to life in the sky. Up on high, Rei stares down at the chaos he set in motion. He sees it instantly, their distraction is working flawlessly. He realizes his mightiest lightning spell won't even scratch it. But he's got one last technique, one that can wipe it all out completely. He unleashes a spell he calls Nuclear Strike Magic, because of course he names it like that. He remembers the brutal rules of a hydrogen bomb from his past life. Spell he ditched cold turkey because the mana cost was flat out insane. But now, with those cursed items in hand and the local resources at their disposal, he finally learns how to copy that weapon, using magic. He rips together an enormous sphere of raw, unstable energy, crackling with danger, and clutches a miniature sun right in the palm of his hand. The monster towers above them and the dwarves stare up, frozen in awe, drowning in terror. Commander spots the signal and explodes into a scream, yelling for his men to hit the retreat.